human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining. Well, it's overdue, but I should have had Tony on a long time ago. Tony from Merkaba Carpet YouTube channel joins us today. How's it going, Tony?
Hey, how are you? Good.
Oh, doing wonderful, man. It's like you're one of the people I think about typically when I talk about how sometimes I'll see trends going. You know, trends like in the consciousness, not like on YouTube or whatever, but it's the same sort of concept, you know what I mean? Where I'll feel like something's being shown to me spiritually or from my higher team or whatever you want to call it. And then I'll come across one of your videos and it's like, you'll be talking about the same thing, you know, but yet your video came out before me, or maybe I didn't even do a video about it. It's just maybe something that, you know, I was being dealt with in the back, but, you know, and it really, really confirms what I'm getting when I see someone else getting, you know, completely separate from me. They're getting some of the same stuff. And I notice these trends. I don't know. Have you noticed these trends that seem to go on through the collective?
Yeah, I trust them. If I'm feeling it, it's because I'm aligned with the collective that is feeling it. So I never second what it is that I'm feeling, and I'll just come right out and talk about it. But it's just aligned to the same frequency.
Right.
A lot of light work, a lot of different ideas, and we're liking what we're hearing and sort of projecting it and sharing it, and we're creating it because we're buying into it. I mean, it's just what it is that we want, a little bit of freedom. So you got to trust yourself.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it does help for those that might question, or maybe just like me, I just sort of notice things, and then to just right out of the clear blue, I'll have the synchronicity from one of your videos or just from somewhere else, and it's like, wow, that's like going through the collective right now. And it's like you can really see how there is a unity involved with our growth together as we shift together. And I want to get into shifts. In fact, this is called Shifts Happening. So don't you feel like there's a lot going on right now, a lot moving and changing?
Yeah, it's we're in the now point where all the doors are available in front of us and all the timelines behind us. We're in that, we make all options are on the table. Whatever we choose to buy into, from fear to bliss, is sitting there. Yeah, it's amazing. But I'm disconnected from all of it, but at the same time embracing it all, understanding that as long as I am following that inner truth, then I'm always on path. If I get in the way with a second thought, you know, that don't have second thoughts, as long as I don't get in the way with second thoughts and fear, you're always on track. It's a synchronicity. It's the same as lining, what you're talking about, where you get synchronicities to confirm what you're getting. It's the same thing. In reality, synchronicity, like 1111 or a Mandela Effect, you're just moving into the frequency. You're aligning with the harmonic frequency. We're confirming the reality we're in, basically. It's becoming real. It's giving us a chance to buy into it with physical evidence.
Right. And I've noticed that, and you can there's like Stairway to Heaven says, there's two paths you can go on, right? And it's like, I've been noticing that more and more. It's especially now with current events. I mean, you can go down this one path of doom and gloom and, oh my gosh, this is a huge control tactic to take away rights, or, you know what I mean? There's some pretty dark theories about what's happening. And maybe that might end up being someone's reality, you know, if they focus on that hard enough. You know, we're at this point now where we're like splitting and everybody's kind of going off with what they're resonating with. That's why I'm like, dude, it's more important than ever right now to keep your vibes up, to keep pushing towards that positive outcome, because our intention to do it's sort of like we're in a boat going down the river, right? And there's this fork in the road, and we collectively we can all sort of, the river is it's pushing us one way or the other, but we can sort of collectively guide it, you know. But you know, I guess it's just only so much control that we have when you think about it that way, I guess. But still, I mean, it can branch off into infinite forks in the road.
If you look at if this is about surrender, releasing control, that's the whole point of trust and faith and moving into the now. If you are going with the flow, Hopi talked about this, let go of the shore, go with the flow. The condor prophecy, eagle and the condor prophecy, eagle on earth, condor going into the stars kind of thing. Right. You're looking at a perfect alignment with inner harmony, faith, trust, and surrender just by going with the flow. You can't go wrong by going with the flow. You go wrong by going and pushing against resistance. Resistance is the contraction. So if you're trying to accomplish something and nothing's happening, it's telling you to do something a little different. Don't force your way forward. Go with the flow.
Right. What do you think about those that are getting sort of discouraged at a time like this? Because there's so many things going around. They don't know what to believe, and they're just sort of torn in so many different directions. And because I think this go with the flow is the answer to that. But how do you get from there to going with the flow, in your opinion? What's some tips that you could offer somebody like that?
You'd have a life implosion like I did, where you just have no choice but to go with the flow. Or you can go with the flow. Eventually, you're going to go with the flow. It's your choice when and where, but we all make it into the flow. The advice I have is we're all exactly where we need to be, and you could get deep into it in the sense that all versions of reality exist. All perspectives are true. That means yours is true, mine is true, and we're aligning with the one we choose to align with. Some people are waking up to this fact. If we choose to resist and hold on to the external, which is essentially it's ego and fear, survival mentality, slave mentality, the idea that you need to fix the outside or change the outside to accomplish and find harmony inside. It's a complete paradigm shift. And how do you get there? I mean, it's one hell of a journey. I mean, for all the stuff very quickly, it took a bat to the back of the head for me to finally look up and walk with spirit. That's what you're doing, walking in faith. Every master taught it, but it's hard to believe it. Walk in faith. Well, how does that work? It's, you know what, it takes 3 months. If you combine something fully, commit for 3 solid months, from what I've seen, you're going to get what it is that you're looking to see. If you drag your feet and you still have beliefs that maybe not, it's going to take longer. So the advice that I have for people to get there is to follow the little passions during the day, which are the higher excitement, which is the higher vibrational state of being, which aligns you with the slightly higher version or reality. And that's when the doors begin to open a little bit more. They show up literally, like standing in a room or the eyewitness, different people see different things. Absolutely. And it changes even more over time. Some people can look in the sky and see a UFO at the exact same time the person they're with can look up and not see it. Things will just appear. Opportunities will appear. People, synchronistic meetings, they happen when you can move into a slightly higher vibe. So all you have to really do is start having fun. Be like the child. Literally, have fun. Be in the now. Play. Trust that life will be okay. Use your 3D mind to navigate, the general stuff, but don't attach to the problems. And how you get there, again, is a bat to the back of the head eventually if you don't finally learn to let go. And it's hard to do that. We just got out of the dark ages. Welcome to, burning people to the stake for bad corn growing. You know what I mean? It wasn't that far back. And then it's still to now, we have a huge amount of dark age mentality, and it's a huge paradigm. You're one of the teachers. Those who woke up are the teachers, and they're going to teach by leading by example. So you can't preach. You can't write rule books. You have to lead by example, because now people can buy into it. They see you successfully living in your passion. How do they do it? They align with that frequency. They want it, and they move towards it. There is not going to be gurus. It's inner truth time. You can bring people to the door of inner truth and say, hey, follow your passion. Didn't it work when you were young? It did. Yeah. Think back. As it did. Beginner's luck. The times that you stepped in and did things, the road trip that you did take, and then it was a lot of fun. It worked out. So essentially, yeah, we lead by example for those who can't sort of get there entirely on their own, which I didn't either. I had lots of teachers along the way. And then a life implosion, like I said. That was it. It was time to walk with spirit, which is walking with self, essentially, inner truth. And the last thing I'll just say about that is love is the inner truth. That inner truth within you is spirit, unveiled from human distortions of fear and worry and anxiety. you're getting to the inner truth by getting through the fear. If you can release the fear, the vibe goes up. Every ounce, every second that you can take to not trigger with fear, anxiety, and worry, every second reprograms you, changes your chemistry, and shifts you into a slightly higher reality. And that's why it takes 3 months, because it is a linear progression. So it seems like it could never happen, but eventually it does happen. Life does change. There's a video, I just put it up on my channel, about life coach, and it talks about this rather than getting into it here. It talks about it more complexly. It was just sort of an intuitive nudge to start doing that. But anyway, that's how you're going to get there. You're going to align by watching other people.
One of the things that kind of blew my mind about it is, I agree, it's like super hard to let go and to sort of surrender to that. But the thing that I guess helped me is looking back and seeing how I kind of got here on accident, if you will, and
Yeah.
and knowing I'm right where I'm supposed to be though, but just out of
Yeah.
complete ignorance or whatever, and that really helps me moving forward, because I'm like, I've never been in a better position than I am right now, and never have I felt. It just, you feel so liberated when you can trust and just let go. Like what you're saying, this whole trust issue, it's hard to do it, but once you do it, you're like, it's such a weight off of you. You know what I mean? To realize
Yeah.
that you don't have to control everything. I mean, and
No.
if I knew it would feel like that moving, and it's like that with leaving religion and stuff. If I knew I would feel so great getting out of it, you know what I mean? I would have done it a long time ago. But things aren't what you expect until you do it, and then you're like, oh, well, this is way different. That whole grass is greener on the other side thing. It's just different. It's always going to be different once you get over there, right?
It is. It is. It's really liberating. And I had to go through the religious shift too. And I wasn't brought up in religion. It was past life religious fear. But it's funny when you start to think about, the God that we've painted is sort of a psychopathic father that's going to sort of punish you forever, for making mistakes. But I unconditionally love you. And I could joke about it all day.
Right.
But really, every experience we have, we've scripted with other people for as bad as they can be. And I've had bad ones that we're talking about. Everybody in my family has been assaulted one way or another. I think, and most of us have. Certainly light workers have grown up and experienced some hellish life experiences because it helped them wake up. It's those experiences that bring us into compassion, unity consciousness. And it's that vibe that brings us into unity as a whole. So when we're ready to let go of the experience, we move into a new experience. We're the teacher and we're the student. If we want to hold on to drama, welcome to drama. You're going to learn it until you're ready to let go, and eventually you come into surrender. And that surrender aligns with unity consciousness, which is a field of information, so that your toroidal field, essentially like I was talking about it recently, a clear basketball, and it's spinning around you. It's a Merkaba light body. It's your consciousness. And as that vibes up, you change your location in the now and frequency, and you align with new information, and then things show up, synchronicities, people, information. Even your passions change. You change from the inside out. So it's always going to be going within, and it is one hell of a journey. But you will have to get through every fear. You cannot love something. I'll say this. You cannot love something you're afraid of. If you have a fear of God, you don't love God. If you think you might and you think you're serving, but you can't have a relationship in fear. That's contracted, it's shut off, it's fearful, it's an illusion. It's you have to grow past that. If you want to have a real true relationship with God, you'll have to look in the mirror, look in your eyes, and you're going to have to see the essence of spirit within, knowing that it's the awareness behind our senses and that it's attached to everybody else. And then if you do hurt somebody else, you really are hurting yourself. We are one in the spirit within the human, a symbiotic relationship. So get past the fear, and you'll be able to read the Bible with clarity, with discernment. You'll be able to throw out the bullshit, and you'll be able to take what's true and carry on in a higher vibrational version of the Bible, which we're seeing with Mandela effects. The word of God never changed. God didn't write the fucking Bible. You know what I mean? It was men writing the Bible.
Right.
And it was, they could channel, but it wasn't God sitting down at the table writing the Bible. It was written in the Dark Ages when people were afraid of the thunder god and stuff like that, to some extent.
Right.
And I'm passionate about it because, we have to break away from the Dark Ages. Until then, you don't get through this eye of the needle. You don't come into a clean version of yourself, that inner love. Love is it, period. That's the energy. You get to love, you find truth. You get to truth, and you'll find yourself, and you'll find that It's all one. You,
Yeah.
God, spirit, higher self, your family, the collective, the earth, a reflection of the collective, everything a reflection of the consciousness that puts its focus on it.
Right. And to back up to what you were saying about the Bible, I want to interject there because, people will say, well, that's the Word of God. And I'm like, well, according to the Word of God, it says Jesus was the Word of God. So it's like, it's like I wouldn't take it too personally or get too offended by it, because what you're calling the Word actually says Jesus was the Word and He became flesh. And, you can go into how that can be interpreted too. But
The word was
the
interpreted entirely correctly anyway. The word is a vibrational, it's a frequency of creation.
right, right,
It's take a frequency. You take a frequency of thought, a high vibrational information flow of information of spirit through the human, which all artists do when they get out of their own way and create it, and now that spirit coming through. You turn it into words. You've now physically manifested it into physical reality. You've taken it from multidimensional thought and energy and emotion and brought it into the physical. The Word of God is a transference of energy from not metaphysical, but this is metaphysical, but from multidimensional energy
right.
into physical energy, a lower vibrational density of energy. So everything we say, we listen to, body, mind, spirit, in a sense. We listen to it. So those who sit and sort of bash or are negative, they're creating their reality with their word, essentially. This is why the positive affirmations and all those, that's kind of teaching works so well. And it's why the first thing you do when you get up in the morning should be saying something out loud that's very positive, or saying things about loving yourself, or I am loved, or I am healed. And you create it through the word. That is our one sort of visualization in the word, is what we're doing to create reality, our experience. And it's unmistakable. We can't lie to ourselves. Whatever you're talking about, you're buying into, you're believing, even if it's your own lies.
Right.
It's just
Yeah, that was one of the things I had to come to terms with. I'm like, man, I lie to myself more than anybody, and
yeah.
you believe it, and then it's like you kind of realize, you're like, do I really know this? And I'm like, no, I don't really know this. And sort of you end up having this experience bucket of things you've really experienced that you can really say, I know that, there's something, like, I know there's something going on the higher realms for sure. I can't put a label on it for sure, but I know there's something going on. I've been helped so numerous times, and I definitely feel that connection. It's beyond coincidental as far as numbers or randomness or all of that. So I know there's something there. I know it's loving. I know it's caring. And I know, it's service to others, because you get this satisfaction, this fulfillment that goes beyond any sort of selfish fulfillment that you get in life. When you help others, you can really feel that you're doing the work of a higher source, and you're allowing that to like work and move through you. And I think that's really what this whole shift's about. As we begin to allow that to go through us, it's going to siphon to other people. That was actually one of the things I told you about when you were doing your healing video the other day, is that I felt this energy go through my chest region on the first pass, and then the second pass, I just felt all this energy, and I thought, I don't want it to go to waste. So I like focused it out of me into all of my family, my household. Any kind of healing that they need in their body, any kind of harmonizing, aligning, anything like that, just to take that energy and push it out to them. And I think we're moving into these gifts. We can go more into your healing gift too.
Well, if what you said about it making you feel good to be service to others, what you're doing is raising your vibe, healing yourself, slowing your aging, coming into higher vibrational awareness. So if service to self or to others is service to self, healing others heals yourself. This is this
Absolutely.
unity. I mean, to understand that you are just what I said. I don't know how to say it any better than that. You are dealing with yourself in others. If you can see past the human, which is the filter and the free choice programming of spirit on planet Earth, if you can look past that to the absolute unconditional love and the vibration of love within each person, again, what you see is what you believe is what you see. If you can believe that the love is inside somebody, no matter who they are, and it's not easy to do. I don't sit. I still get pissed at people being a
Right.
jerk, right? It's hard to see past that. But at the same time, if I'm coming into a situation where I feel insecure, or I feel like, man, I'm not going to get what I really need here. If I look past that and I look essentially at the higher self with energy within each person, in their eyes, look at them in the eyes and expect the best. I've seen it work. I don't want to say every time because I haven't really tried it a lot. It's not part of my reflex. I'm still getting out of the dark ages. But when I consciously try it, I get the most spectacular responses from people that I thought for sure were going to send me on my way without any help, right? So that's the idea. Seeing the best in everything will begin to put you into that reality. And that's getting past the fear, the judgment, the prejudices, all that kind of stuff. It's all really cool.
It's a
As
lot
far
of
as the
programming
healing,
to get over, isn't it? I said it's a lot of
yeah,
programming to
well,
get over, you know?
it's incredible. It's this lifetime, it's past lifetimes, and it really is. We're coming in, we're purging stuff out with each purge. We're raising frequency. That's why we have to purge it. It comes into the light of consciousness. We sit with it, we let it go, and we move into higher frequency reality. Eventually, what's happening is your toroidal field is spinning around you, and it's full of what you could call particulate at different frequencies that are polarized. And what we're doing is taking the negative polarity out of that so it can spin faster. That's your frequency. And we do that by when it spins around and it goes, oh shit, I'm here, I'm in this office. I know these people are going to, not want to give me what I need, whatever it is. I'm just thinking of 3D reality. And you go into this fear state of being, because here's the particulate, here's the negative experiences that have built up over lifetimes. So what you do is you face it like a paper tiger. You assume it's empty. You're not in the dark ages anymore. We're in a frequency of reality that is higher than the dark ages. And so we're supported, but we don't recognize that. The cage door is open, but we haven't stepped out fully. So when the field comes around, that repeating life pattern of bad relationships and whatever it is, there's many different cycles. 7 years, one a lot of people know, and it comes around, you sit neutral with it, and that programs it. It's, again, I was talking about, don't trigger so fast. Hold it for a second or two, and you begin to quiet down these distortions in your field. The field spins up. When it comes around again, it's a little less fearful. In the beginning, it might not seem so because it was so intense anyway. Mm-hmm. But eventually, they all become your fractal, your energy, your field becomes balanced, and it spins faster. And you move into a different perspective of the now, a different sort of frequency within the field of consciousness, and that becomes your experience of reality. There are no limitations. If we had a linear life where if we made a mistake that was that bad that we would die, we would all be dead. I mean, we would all have choked on something. We'd all be in a car accident. Even psychology proves you have to be able to sort of perceive beyond regular speed of time in order to drive a car by a few seconds or something. Falling, I can think of many times, getting, alcohol poisoning for some, like there's so many different points where you could have bitten the dust, and it has happened, and it's happened to me. I grew up with mirror twins, hugely psychic. They're twins who are one day before Siamese twins. The egg, they're one egg. It's not two eggs. So they're completely, one's pregnant, the other one feels the pain. One's in a car accident, the other one's feeling the pain. One breaks a finger, the other one breaks a finger across the other side of the world. So I grew up in this entangled version of reality, and I saw a lot of cool stuff. And what am I getting? I always get off on these tangents. And I won't get into what happened exactly, but I got caught in a snowstorm, and I walked as far as I could, collapsed, and I was just falling asleep. And then all of a sudden, it's the worst snowstorm in the East Coast history for the most part, right? Snow up to the top of the telephone poles drifted. You got to shovel your way in the door. And I'd walked for about 6 miles. But anyway, I was in front of a church, and I laid back. I closed my eyes, and then I hear two skidoos, because they wouldn't send anybody out alone in one skidoo. They picked me up, put me on the skidoo, and I was only 1,000 feet from my door. I just couldn't take another step. And I go in, and they said, you died. They knew I was dead. They absolutely knew something had happened. They went into a massive depression. I grabbed a smoke, went in the shower. I was frozen. I was smoking a cigarette in the shower. So happy to be home, sitting on the floor. I remember this so well. That's why I walked in the storm. I got stuck in the highway, and I was croaking for a cigarette.
Oh,
So anyway, got home. But I was in a different reality. I had already shifted. It was time for me to move. I'd come through a really bad personal experience. My vibe changed. My relationship changed with the world, with the people in it, and it was time for me to shift. I left that behind because I couldn't get to where I needed to go, which would be eventually here, from that state of being in that version of reality. So we have this multi-dimensional version of reality where we do have the 9 lives, and we do. Do we use them? Yes, if we change our frequency to such an extent that we just don't vibe with that reality anymore, or we make a free choice that takes us in a completely different path, and we need to break free. And we're seeing a lot of that. Just really interesting. This shift that is happening, we're seeing a divergence of reality. We're seeing that people are going to separate. We'll see physical changes, whether they're tsunamis or whatever they are, where the virus, things like that, where people seemingly die, but they move into their own reality, so that everybody gets to where they need to be based on the frequency that they're holding within, moving towards the next grade or staying in 3D and carrying on to learn more compassion, whatever it is. But what I've understood, what I've learned is that what's happening, I thought we would see a lot of death, and we would see the old systems, the people in the old systems essentially being run by empty shells that have no soul anymore, and then they sort of slowly die off. But what's happening is a friend of mine who does a lot of journeying was asked, because he was going through a separation, bad relationship, was asked by Spirit, which he connected to really well. It was amazing doing it. And he was asked, would you like a different version of your wife? And this is before I woke up. I'm used to the guy, but I'm not into the spiritual stuff or demons or any of this stuff at all. But I really love the idea that he was, because it was free to be able to think and talk to him about the things that I like to talk about. So he was telling me about it, and I said, that's wild. A different version of your wife. I'm not going to drive you nuts. You won't drive. You guys will be aligned. The kids will be happy. I said, that'd be cool. And I think he agreed to it. But then he was also asked, would you like to align all of your past selves, all of yourselves? And he declined it. And I think that's what we've been doing. I know it's what we've been doing. You have this merging of reality we went through with different versions of ourselves coming in, and you'd be hit with a purge. You'd sort of become more whole, vibe up. You're accepting all versions of yourself unconditionally. You're healing them and moving forward. But he chose, I believe, not to do that. And I'm always going off this tangent, always forgetting where I am. Okay, so and I forget.
So do you think this is something that we're all doing? Because I've heard other things that sort of connects with the Mandela Effect and everything, and people
connect, but just let me tell you this part before I forget. What's happening is the higher vibrational version, 5D spirit is coming into 3D people. It's an important understanding. That means that those relationships that were broken, the ones we left behind, the ones that we were meant to sort of free ourselves from, this upset, the polarized reality we're in, the political polarity, all of this stuff, once the separation completes, we were going to see that those in the version of reality that you're in will be more of a match to your frequency. So we have this sort of 5D version of people that will replace. This is why it was said to my friend, do you want another version of your wife? Do you know what I mean? And we have free choice. So, and it's just new info to me. And I think it's important to know that you cannot have a judgment hardcore anymore. You cannot just write stuff off hardcore anymore. It's really time to have an open heart and open mind and expect the best, even out of those you think you may have lost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've seen them coming around too. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, there you go. A high enough vibe to wake up. And we're going through that. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to not forget that. I hate that.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Okay, so if we're all sort of converging down, so you're thinking of it, I'm trying to get a clearer picture of how you're sort of viewing it. Like I've got, say, 1 million versions of me that lived 1 million different, I don't know, lifetimes up to this point right now. But you see it as a sort of collapsing down where you're gaining the lessons of, say, this timeline and the lessons of this timeline and the lessons of this timeline. And are you viewing it like that as we move forward? Like we're becoming more of who we are from all of our lessons combining?
All versions of you are right now at a different frequency. There's no such thing as the past or the future. A lot of people know all of this stuff, preaching to the choir to a lot of people here. But all versions exist now. They can all come into contact if you're sharing some spectrum of reality. So if you picture your frequency, you may have heard this before on my channel, but if you were to understand that your frequency is like a fine-tooth comb, and on the one end is a low frequency and the high end is your highest frequency, and that's the spectrum of your emotional state of being, which stems from your belief systems, and they trigger how you feel, and this is what is creating reality, makes you say what you want to say and things like that, align with things. So you have, if you can share some spectrum with other versions of you enough, You merge. And I'm talking versions of you that are experiencing this period or frequency of transition. In other words, other versions of you in this life, not past versions of you, if you want to call them that. What I'm saying is merging those together. The past versions of you are happening right now. You are your ancestors. You will be your future generation. Your energy of spirit will be in them. When we die, it all goes into one. Nobody's going anywhere. We're shifting frequency, vibration, and we can't see it from physical to spirit. Most of us can't. So what I'm saying is that all of these lifetimes, whatever you may have been, a girl, a boy, a soldier, or whatever it is, they're all there. They're not merging. They're there. They have all brought you here. You're in this now pinnacle sort of moment of aligning, repairing your past, because each one of those versions of you has a series of timelines as well, like you do here. If you align closely enough, you become one. Frequency works that way. Gravity works that way. The frequency field, the electromagnetic field pattern, like hula hoops in a certain arrangement, are a frequency within matter, which is in the space between the atom, neutron, and proton. And that is the relationship of the physical, what you could call physical, but it's just energetic. It's just frequency. It's just energy. And I'm always going on these tangents and I lose my place. But anyway, you have You have this free.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you right here while we're at this little point, because I've had a number of people that are experiencing the Mandela Effect tell me that they have experienced alternate timelines within this life. So not a previous life or anything, but what you're talking about. So like maybe there's a version of me that decided not to go to college and maybe I moved to another country right now or something. And so we're talking about in this very lifetime, different versions of me, and some people experiencing memories from other versions or now moments from other versions, like almost like they switched to a different timeline, or at least felt like they were operating from a different timeline, only to realize like why was I experiencing that? And it can get very confusing for some of the people I talk to, that this is ramping up like this. And I want to tell them that it's probably related with the Mandela Effect, but I don't know if it's a step further than that. Is it?
No,
what are your thoughts? Right.
It's all the same thing, and that's what I was talking about. That electromagnetic field pattern is a frequency. Everything is a frequency. Gravity is a frequency. That's what attracts things. What is it? Entanglement, your dark matter, things like that. It's all about frequency. And if you align a frequency to be the same, it becomes one. That's unity consciousness. It's telepathy. If I aligned my frequency to your frequency, and we do to some extent, they overlap like the fine-tooth comb, sharing some of the frequency. We share that thought form. We share that connection on that level. Now, as far as the Mandela Effect, I've experienced it where we were driving. We've been on a long road trip. Your viewers might not know that. We sold everything in 2016, hit the road, and never looked back. And we've done about 100,000 kilometers or 60, 100, somewhere, a lot of miles across the United States and Canada, and trying to sort of jump in and understand what's going on. When we were at White Sands Missile Basin at different places, and I've recorded some weird stuff, shamanic music at a truck stop, and we sleep in the truck and all that kind of stuff. But when we, man, my head's not working today. When we were in front of White Sands Missile Base, we're on the highway, and we were all alone. It was in the daytime. We're heading north back to Canada. It was around March of 2016, and all of a sudden we're surrounded by traffic. We had shifted reality in a conscious enough way to realize it had happened. And it was a big bliss feeling. It was unmistakable. And a friend of mine who is a psychic emailed me and said, "Did you feel that?" And I said, "Yeah, that was amazing." It was like, what, did the world blow up and our consciousness shift or what? But different things like that happened, and it gave me, and I had lots of time to figure out from my perspective what happened. And what it is when your frequency of the human being that you are overlaid on your consciousness or toroidal field changes enough. In other words, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs changes the electromagnetic field patterns within and through your Merkaba, your clear basketball spinning around you. That frequency, if it's enough of an alignment with another version of you, it overlaps and you merge, right? Or you can choose not to. It's your free choice. But when you grow enough or change enough in the way that you operate in your reality, the way that you feel, you leave fear behind and move into, faith or trust. This is what the masters all had to do, and they all went through their dark night of the soul. Then you merge, and then you have a different past timeline. Spontaneous remission speaks to this, that sort of instant healing, the changes in things, the, oh my God, I almost died, man. I was in this car accident. No, you died. You did die. You know what I mean? There's a
Right.
version of your family experiencing your death, because we come here to learn, to bring humanity into the highest evolution of itself over many millions of years, its highest potential. And if we did that linearly, we'd be here for infinity, basically. We do it multidimensionally, so that your mother and your father can experience your death in a timeline and experience living with you in a timeline. You can experience the death of everybody. They can experience the death of everybody. And we have all of these, this ability on a multidimensional level to have these experiences. When you become consciously aware of multidimensional reality, 1111, Mandela effects, reality shifts, whatever it is that is on a scale of not linear, it means your consciousness is expanding enough to take in more than one timeline, one memory. Your DNA is an antenna. The memory is not in the brain. Psychology understands this, as they do experiments on rats and stuff. It was a long time ago, and they remove parts of the rat's brain, but it's still overall, the memory is held in a different way, right? So this is why you can take your memories with you. The memories of logos and stuff like that, they can come with you. So they come with you, but the timeline is no longer there for you. You're not there anymore. Your frequency has changed too much. And you never go back to it. Like for time travel, if you want to align your frequency, ETs do it. We can do it. You can align your frequency, and people do it. People step back in dreams, or they can have visions and go back in time and come back. You can align your frequency, your consciousness, to such an extent that you can go back to the original, because that would change it. It wouldn't be the same frequency. You're adding your frequency from an observer and interacting perspective. You can't go back to that, but you can go back to a parallel. It's almost identical, except you were there, right? And this is how this is the physics. This is how it all works. This is how time travel, or traveling across space works. If you take on the electromagnetic field pattern, or the space-time frequency location of, let's say you have a ship, right? You record its electromagnetic field pattern in space and time. So you take a ship and put it in location A, you extrapolate its photon patterns, you move it to another location, you extrapolate it again, or you take the reading again, you extrapolate the location, you have the field reading for the spaceship, let's say. Now you inject essentially the space-time frequency location of somewhere else into the ship, or into each molecule, the photonic field pattern, and now you relocate the ship. So essentially everything is entangled, and space or time is just a frequency, and reality is a cartoon flip book, essentially, where you can even change the rate or frame rate, and it goes at Planck rate. You can look up Planck rate. It's a really small segment of time. And you can change your frame rate so that you can age slower or faster. And you do that by slowing down the activities of fear. Fear is a contraction, which makes you experience more time. In other words, you age faster. You can step out and be in your own version of reality, even with people who are in their own frequency. They overlap as long as you share frequency. So we're coming into a brand new world of science. We're coming into electromagnetic field pattern manipulation for generators and free power for people. You're going to see Africa flourish. You'll see countries that are locked down in communism and bullshit, where they fall behind. Like China is going to absolutely implode. Their people need to break free from the government, because the world is about to explode in new technology. All of the fear things like global cooling and loss of food and the fear mongering online, it's all going to be offset by new technologies to grow food in different places. You know what I mean? Like the future's awesome. It's absolutely amazing. If you can get your mind off of the fear and the conspiracy and the bullshit, you'll change your frequency to align with a version of reality that is reflective of who you are inside. But you got to let go, right? You've got to let go of the past, the timelines, the damage that has been done to you, and understand it got you to this point, woke you up, and now you can move forward. And I got rid of everything, sold everything, and it's time to do that. Throw the family albums out. You know what I mean? You're them anyway. You got all the memories inside. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all in the heart. I'm not saying burn your albums, but I'm saying don't be emotionally attached to the past anymore, because it locks you down. You have a full potential to go anywhere, to be your highest potential right now. You can't do that if you've already written the book. You've got to erase everything and become the true version of you now. And we're seeing it anyway. If you don't like it, you'll get the bat to the back of the head, or your relationships will blow up. kicked out, the job will fire you. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you're
Well,
going
that's
to
what the
get where you're going to
Mandela
get. You don't have
effect.
to worry.
That's what the Mandela effect did for me, because I like had to completely go back to the drawing board, clear it off, and say, well, things clearly aren't how I thought they were.
Yeah.
So how much of a part did the Mandela effect play for you? How did that come into your whole journey? Did it help at all, or did you sort of notice it on the way?
I think I had a heart attack and died. I kind of gave up at the very
Kind of
end
like
and
Suso.
shifted, and I saw
You
a lot of changes. I think, well, we all did. The old version of Earth, if you remembered, on the outskirts of the Milky Way, and so did some. Can't remember the scientists. Videos out there was out there, and it is out there. It's a different version of reality, but um, we all died. That planet blew up, went up in flames. The stuff that I began to understand, and we felt the depression and the loss and the goodbye and all that stuff of that because we're connected to it. But
wow.
what happened weren't Mandela effects. They were the recognition that my reality was becoming multidimensional. Other beings were showing up, even to my wife. Other things were happening. Family was not loving. Friends were turning on me. My coworkers were basically attacking. My customers were attacking out of the blue. It was a nightmare. Stephen King version of a nightmare where I just finally said F it and plopped back in the couch and did a marathon of some sort of television show, and everything changed. And then I hit the road. It was after I got back from the road trip and had all those experiences that I learned about the Mandela effect. And when I learned about the Mandela effect, it gave me the opportunity to buy into what I was experiencing more because it was physical evidence of reality shifting. And then I started doing the recordings about, hi, I'm in an RV in the middle of nowhere with a cell phone and solar panel. And I'm going to talk to you about multidimensional reality because I'm the screwiest guy on YouTube right now because there was nothing, not a lot there about it. And I thought, let's just do it. There's nobody's going to bother me or troll me for that. I'm either insane, you know what I mean,
Right, right.
or there's some there or whatever. So I had fun with it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
And I'd want to
That's what it
talk to
was.
you about that too, about your travels, because my 23-year-old is wanting to hit the road, get a van, hit the road, and just travel. And and with everything going on right now, she's feeling even more of a push. So, what kind of words of advice do you have for a youngster wanting to youngster? No, I sound like my dad. For a young person wanting to
I
hit the
know.
road. Oh,
Well,
good.
every banner says, just do it. Stop worrying about where you're going to pee. Stop worrying about where you're going to park. Stop worrying about all of those problems because it'll always be solved. It's always solved in the now. You'll always get what you need when you need it. I was worried and concerned, and I thought about what to do. So I basically, we just bought an electric car because I was excited to understand. It was, a used electric, had to be shipped to the Yukon. And then when I went to sell it, nobody wanted it. You just like trying to sell, I don't know, you know, I'm basically, there's no real distance when it's minus 50. Just enough to go to the grocery store back.
Right.
I ended up trading a smashed RV, a rebuilt. So, when I did it, we slept in the truck. That's what we did, and stayed at truck stops all across the United States. Flying J, I think a lot of those type of things, and Love's. We made a lot of jokes about that. Come on into Love's truck stop, kind of stuff. We had a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And had no road trip planned. We ended up in Sedona, and we ended up in we. I think we've been all over the place in different lifetimes because we drove into what is it? All of the places. I'm thinking of the Canyon, Grand Canyon. We'd walk up. Yeah, it's cool. Let's go. You know what I mean? We'd be back on the road. We met what I'm sure must have been an alien or a Palladian of some kind. Big, tall guy standing in the middle of a parking lot, seemed lost. It's about 7 feet tall, skinny as a rake. Total albino. Didn't know what time it was. Was really, really, really upset that I didn't know what time it was, but not in a mean way. Just because I was the only guy that showed up, I guess, to ask. And I don't know, man. It's awakening. There's no time. But I came to a time zone, so I didn't really know. But as far as the van goes, living in a van, I would say that what I ended up buying was a used camper van, it's great, but it's not stealthy. It means you can't sort of park along the street or whatever. But that's a low vibe way to live anyway. You know what I mean? So I ended up getting a camper van, and we would park in different places. Eventually, just stay in campgrounds because the gas is so expensive anyway. It's cheaper to sort of stay in campgrounds. And we go to fields, is like fields, but locations that are free. We'll be there all summer in a field in Alberta, fighting with the mice. Probably they got us last summer. This time I'm going to park it up. Can't climb up the tires. It's going to be funny. Not pink buck. Get some clear buckets. It's just problems. You know what I mean? They're just fun problems to solve. But essentially, it's free. You don't have a mortgage. It cost me $3,600 a month to live the way we used to live, and I didn't have time for anything, and I took a lot of abuse from people. I wasn't happy. I was dying. I was getting sick. I wasn't living my dreams. I was in a low vibe, and I'm sure just had a heart attack and died. And what was the point? You know what I mean? I even had part of my house rented out for supplementary income. You're trying to change the outside world to solve the inside projection of that world. It's impossible. So what would I say? Liberating. It's free. You're not owned by the government mostly. You're not owned by a landlord. You're not owned by the bank. You're not owned by cards. I homeschool my daughter. She's super smart. We talk about science. On a level in grade 3 on physics, chemistry, and biology. She wants to be a judge. I downloaded a law app. I go through that and explain things in basic ways, and she wants to kick the hell out of bad companies and stuff, although she's balanced. She's awake. She sees Mandela effects. But she wants to change the world. And I teach her through her passion. And we're going to see a lot of that change as well. So I have a beautiful relationship with my family. We don't have a lot. We don't spend a lot of money. We eat simply. Sometimes we can't even shower very often. We have to sort of plan that stuff out. We get to park outside of the city in the woods. We get to meet really cool people. We break away from the brainwashing. We break away. I have never been sick. We've never been sick on this journey. Our vibe is too high. No colds. I've never had to deal with really any of the stress problems. I no longer take any medication, no anxiety medication. I don't drink. I quit smoking. I'm going to live a lot longer. I learned how reality works. I can heal people by touching. I can heal people by sending healing energy. I never could do any of this, and I didn't know I could until I let go of the programming. And basically I just said, screw it, sell it and get in the vehicle. And if you're worried about it, start small. Buy a shitty van, $2,000, $1,500, and go do it. Eventually you'll want to have USB fans for $10 at Walmart to move the air. You want to have a solar panel, 200 watt, to charge your phones. You don't need AC power, so don't worry about all of inverter bullshit. You just don't need that. I operate with a cell phone. All the programming is there. Even on hot days, crank the windows and doors open and run the fan. We use the bathroom at truck stops, or stores, or outhouses, or in the campground here. It's exercise more than walking to the bathroom. Right. It's just a different way of life. But I can tell you this, that's where we're going. Humanity is going to start moving towards Mother Nature, getting away from AI type technology that is untempered by quantum technology. Quantum technology is coming. That would be electromagnetic field manipulations and changes. It'll change the way we heal people by changing the geometric light patterns that are the energy behind the cell. Would put them back into shape, so you're dealing with the source of the problem rather than all the side effects. So big pharmacy is going to fall over. Light healing, sound healing, it's all about frequency. We go back to nature. We start growing our own vegetables. You don't need much space to do stuff like that. It's all changing. So everybody's going to do it differently. But I'll tell you, if my daughter wanted to get a van, and I thought about it, if we keep doing this, then maybe she'll want a van. She'll want a van. I know she's going to get older. She's going to need her own space, right? But I think actually next, we might get something a little bit bigger, because I think the channel's starting to get more support. I'll be able to support myself, because when I sold everything, that's what we lived on. There's no welfare. There's no other money coming in. I'm burning through my retirement, basically, and it wasn't that much, because it was already imploding for 5 years before I finally let go. I let go because I couldn't pay the mortgage at the end of it. There was no money. I had a blow up with a friend who was renting, and they just decided, no, I'm not going to, and it was, okay, I can't do this anymore. Everything I touch turns to hell. We're meant to hit the road. So follow your passion. That vibes you up. That brings you your options. That brings you a new path, a new life. If you feel like you want to hit the road, then support her. Absolutely. You're only ever going to be in danger or unsafe if you're in a low vibe.
Right.
So I stay out of fear. Oh, and one more thing. Get a, and we have a spray. What do you call that? Dog spray
Yeah.
for the girls here. So it's on a set of keys, and so there's no weapons or anything, but dog spray, just in case, and that's it. I wouldn't even have that if I didn't have the girl. Nothing basically,
Right.
because you don't want your mind focused on you might need it, because you will need it if you think you might need it.
Right. So yeah, you're doing them a favor then by getting it for them, because they don't have to think about it, and then you don't have to manifest it. So yeah. So okay, so the whole idea of going on the road, you would never go back, right?
Nope. No, not ever. I don't want to fix it. I don't want to insure it. I don't want to mortgage it. I don't want to cut the grass. I don't want to clean it. I don't want to take care of it. I don't want to paint it. You know what I mean? I just don't want anything to do with it. We do it because it's an investment. It builds equity over time, and we think, oh, this is my retirement fund. But then most people remortgage it to pay off the credit cards, and then they just keep going into this bad cycle. And I didn't do that, but I did do it for an investment. But it just became a burden. I mean, it was going to be paid off in 35 years. What's the point? You don't live your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all these people retire with a big pile of money, while the youth, the younger people, they don't have anything, right? And so, where does the money go even? At the end, I'm sure it sits in bank accounts forever. Nobody claims it or stuff. You know what I mean? Like, energy must flow. If you have money, then let it flow through. Spend it, share it, be generous. You know what I mean? You're being generous with yourself, because these experiences that everybody's having is the experience of the one spirit. You know what I mean? So we need to make sure every kid is loved, everybody is fed, make sure everybody is free to become their highest potential. Imagine this. Education is free. Everybody's working in their passion. We have the technology to take care of the rest. And you go to the doctor, and you have a doctor that's in there because they're passionate about it, not for the money. You know what I mean? They're not in there for any other reason. They just love doing it. You come into a world operating in its passion, and it's so high vibe that it's ridiculous that we wouldn't just do that, even if you have to seemingly sacrifice yourself or your life in one lifetime, because man, the work's going to get done one way or the other. We can either take a billion lifetimes to do it, or we can start moving into it fairly quickly, and we're coming back. And this is what's really cool. That darkness level of old system that people call the deep state or whatever, this sort of old systems, whatever they are, I don't have to define it, but these old systems and the people that are running them and controlling them are going to reincarnate in this time. We're not going to be our own version, but these idiots think that they're winning something, but they're creating the systems that are going to enslave themselves so that they can go into the experience they need to have to find the compassion that they need in order to come into unity consciousness in their own timing. And that's why the divergence, we're too far away. We're at the diminishing return point of consciousness frequency. There's nothing for us to learn anymore in fear. We're going to learn in love now. Those who want to learn in fear can stay in fear and continue to learn in fear, and they are still part of us. So it's not that I would love to push everybody away. It's still me, but I'm tired physically as a human being. I'm so tired. We're at the divergence, and I'm letting go of it. There's no saving anybody. You know what I mean? Everybody has free choice to do what they're going to do. And you can't get in the way of that. No good deed goes unpunished. You want to change the world and bring humanity to its highest potential, you bring yourself into your highest potential as a compassionate human being going into unity consciousness. And that's it. I explained more in that video I put up about the one I mentioned about the life coach.
Right.
Yeah, because it helps understand why that's not selfish. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's not selfish to focus and love yourself. Loving yourself heals you. Heals you, puts you in a higher version of reality. You know what I mean? If you are a compassionate person and you're going to give all the rest of your money away, and I've done this on the street, where now all of a sudden I'm the broke guy on the street, give it away because there's somebody with less. A lot of light workers have done this. That's fine, and we learn and we feel better, and we're trying to change the world. But if you've got enough compassion and love to give your last $20 to a stranger on the street, then you better have enough compassion and love to give it to yourself. Because what you're saying is, I don't love myself enough to give it to myself. If you're going to treat somebody, with love and respect and kindness, then it's a lie if you can't do it for yourself. You're not in harmony with your inner truth, with love within. You know what I mean? You have to treat yourself with this equal amount of love. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't. They don't even know how to love themselves. And there's lots of ways to. There's one good way to learn it, you know. But we need to do. There's one. Yeah, I can joke about that too. And humor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Funny. Look what the mainstream media did to the world, right? And then look what political correctness did to the world. No humor. I was 30 and I cracked a joke that was super funny to me, but there is no scope on what is offensive and not offensive. And it got the whole world to the point where cracking a joke was just basically wrong, bad. Let's not crack jokes. Let's not laugh. We went into the darkest, deepest nightmare of frequency before. And that's what woke us up, basically, the compression of no fun. And so I love political incorrectness. I'm one with everything in that sense.
Right.
As far as people, places, and cultures, we need to come together in our wisdom and compassion, not being afraid of each other, not homogenize them and turn them into something that isn't human nature.
Right.
You can't, this whole system, this global governance system of homogenizing everything under one roof so that it's safe is insane. It's impossible because it's not human nature. It's not wisdom or compassion because that would be coming together in our differences and embracing each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're under this guise of we must destroy ourselves and who we are in order to come into the truth of unity around the globe. It isn't. It's the gulag. You know what I mean? It's the opposite. It's not awake, and it's not.
And that's the whole thing with the, you know, and it's grown into something way bigger than what I originally thought. But the whole unbiased and on the fence thing, it was like, dude, we need a place where people, you know, can set aside the differences and really focus on the similarities. Because for the most part, you know, people agree that we shouldn't have a world of suffering and starving people and homeless people and all of this. And really the diversity of everything else is beautiful if you don't take it too personal. You know what I mean? I love the diversity of different cultures and the different things that they do and stuff. And it's only when you start saying that, oh my God, that's evil or that's of the devil that, you know, because my culture says it is, you know, and then they can just do the opposite, you know, well, I think you're doing something of the devil.
Everybody loves God.
Right.
Everybody loves. The problem is in how you love your God. You don't love your, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. If everybody just allowed everybody to love the God in whatever way they want to love God, it would all be about love. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the other thing. And the most evil thing ever on this planet was not done by a devil. It was done by a human. No horns, no tails, not red. Done absolute human every single time. You know what I mean? Like it
could have been a human that
blamed consciousness.
Could have been a human that blamed the devil, though, right?
Well, I mean, the devil essentially, if you look at it, it's going to be darkness. Darkness is the absence of light, and the absence of light is a contracted, ignorant consciousness and ignorance, unaware of its unity with everything else. It's in complete fear and survival mode. It wants to control. It wants to, you know what I mean? It wants to preserve, to protect itself, and that means controlling everything. But if you look at the psychology of it, the actual ending to that story is the destruction of itself, which is where humanity was at. We must destroy the virus that is humanity, bring it down to this level in order for us to be safe. And then eventually there's two guys at the table. One is really fat, and the other one is a little bit more afraid. And then there's one guy left, and now he's safe and happy, and you know what I mean? That's where it goes. There was no answer to keeping yourself safe. It ended up in complete destruction, which it's done over many civilizations. I think 5 civilizations. We're in our 6th civilization. We're birthing the 6th one, and that's thank God for that. It was a global meditation in '87, the harmonic meditation, harmonic convergence, I think. And then everything started to change, you know, and we saw it with 9/11 was an alignment of compassion, and then reality shifts. I experienced them. And you had the Berlin Wall or the Soviet Union changes out of the blue. You had these changes that began to roll out, and now we have the coronavirus, which is aligning 2 major points of focus: fear and surrender, trust, or faith. This is the divergence. The fine-tooth combs move so far apart, nothing overlaps, and you have your divergence, right? And this compassion on one side is aligning a very powerful shift of a collective to move into a different version that is reflective. essentially they don't move. Consciousness is everywhere, but they tune into a different version of reality that's reflective of them. And so does fear. So some of fear will go back to source and have to restart over. It's just too polarized in the negative. Some of it will carry on and learn in fear, and like I said before, and some of it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the details, but essentially it carries on where it needs to go. It's the student and it's the teacher, and so are we. And we can align with any collective we want. There isn't one. There's a bunch of you, a bunch of me, at different levels of frequency, and that's just the way it is. And I can align with any version of you that I want, and I can do that even right now. I could sit here, you could say something, I could feel offended, I go into a contraction, I get a lower vibe version of you because my vibe's lower. And so we go through this even on just on the scale of emotion. Every slice of emotion is another version of you, because frequency is moving from one state to another, and at speed and amplitude, intensity, right? It's not, we don't have, this isn't a linear life of my physical body moving through space and time. It is that sort of cartoon flip book of realities at a speed of Planck rate, which is, I don't know, trillions. I don't know what Planck rate is. I looked at the number, and it's one of those numbers that the calculator can't even show you.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's a lot of per second, and we move, and our consciousness processes them. In other words, the consciousness is reality moving past or through your consciousness, essentially. And this is how it works. So if you change the frequency that is your consciousness through the physical, that is you, your physical human being, you have free choice to change that. You tune in a different version of reality, different version of you, right? And that's the way it is. And if I get to the point where I'm dealing with you and my frequency is 10 and let's say yours is 5, then the highest where we get to, the people who blank out, zone out, the ones you're talking to them and they're like the goat stare. They're just,
right.
And you're all
complete
telling them the most
mismatch or
profound,
something. Right.
Yeah, well, you're telling them the most profound thing, and they, when you're done, they're like, "Want to get an ice cream?" Like it's just that is them blanking out. They cannot sustain that frequency of conscious awareness. I don't know what the actual mechanics are, but their frame rate is such that there was nothing missed. Everything's all normal. I goat stared and I missed it. I walked into a grocery store here in town with my wife. I don't go out that much because it's weird what happens around me sometimes. But I walk in a grocery store, and this will give you an idea. And I'm walking up the chip aisle thinking, man, I just love some regular potato chips. You know what I mean? Because I'm not getting out eating that kind of food very much. So I'm looking. There's a guy in the aisle putting the stuff away. He's pretty hairy guy. He looks like sort of a decent cave dude. You know what I mean? Friendly, back. And I'm thinking, oh, right on. So I walk up, and he's just sort of hunched over a little bit, looking. I don't know if he's looking at me or not. I don't want to stare too hard because that'd be weird. So I'm just sort of moving around him, and my daughter and my wife are standing there looking at him, and I'm sort of wondering, am I in your way? Because he seemed kind of stuck, like he was waiting for me to do something.
Right.
And I said, go ahead and do your thing. I'm just, don't worry about me. He didn't budge, nothing. And so my wife is pointing like this, look at this guy. And I'm paying no attention. I'm focused on chips. So I'm digging for the chips, and I come back. This guy was frozen for like a minute, solid, right? It's just solid. And then he comes out of it like nothing had happened, right? And this stuff happens. And it's because you're bringing a field of consciousness, which extends about 27 feet in diameter with you in the center. Right. And you're disturbing their field, and some people will trigger, get angry. They won't want to walk past you. You can pick up on them. You don't want to be around them. You don't want to see them. It feels weird, feels awkward looking at them or even not looking at them. You know what I mean? It's just This doesn't fit vibe. And I've seen, and people froze. That was the other thing, that got me going in the beginning, was everybody was blanking out when I was talking about anything to do with this. And I blew my mind. It was scaring me to some extent. I was thinking, would we have an alien invasion? Or because I'm not sure what's going on here. It's really weird. It was way more weird than the Mandela Effect.
I felt it was a double whammy for me. Yeah.
It was like this never happened before. So now people are going to blank out around me, and it's freaking me out. I said to him, and I'm going to lay low for a bit. We were up in Dawson City, Yukon. I said, I'm just going to watch people, because there's something wrong, something really really off here. It's like invasion of the body snatchers. There's something, and I didn't know because it's new to me, and it was just this divergence and change in frequency of consciousness between me and the outside world.
Right.
I wasn't used to it, right? And so I was back, the pendulum would swing, fear and happy and bliss and stuff. And you get into this state of high frequency when you're talking about this stuff, right? You're excited, it's really cool. There's no limitations anymore. The whole world is going to change. I don't have to worry about anything. And you're like fucking miles away from people and their consciousness. They're just like goat stare.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah. So that happened. And that was the last time I went out to the grocery store. Then the coronavirus hit. And like many light art workers, I'm at home. I love isolation. It's perfect.
Yeah, like for most people, they wouldn't even notice any difference other than
No.
they're hearing about it. They're like, this is what we do all the time anyway. But I wanted to back up because, I love this because this is one of those things where you just described something in a way that Sherry had described the whole coronavirus thing and how you can tap into the fear of it, or you can tap into the crown, because corona means crown, or like the crown chakra, our connection to source, right? And I'm hearing you, and you like basically sort of said the same thing in a different way. You can trust, your crown connection with source, right?
Yeah.
Or you can get into the fear of the corona. So which crown are you sort of putting your energy into? And so that's like one of those little trends, like you say, that I was talking about early on, where I noticed like she said that, and then I noticed you said this, and it's sort of saying the same thing from a sort of slightly different perspective or a way of looking at it, but basically saying the same thing. We have this choice right now. We can tap into the fear that they're pushing, which they're clearly pushing a lot of fear, or you can tap into the trust that everything is going to be okay. You know what I mean? And just, I don't need to know what's going on out there. I know there's a lot of different versions, but I know ultimately there's a whole higher realm that everything's handled on. And to be liberated by that knowledge of that, that trust.
I haven't seen a single person get sick or have a cold or a sniffle in my entire time here. Nobody does. I'm in a reality where it doesn't exist. Some people are underneath chemtrails in the sky because their consciousness is on that, and I never see them. I've seen them before I woke up all over the place. Somebody was asking me today about reading tarot cards. I've done tarot cards for 25 years, maybe longer, and I Ching and stuff. But I've never done readings for people. They're asking me about interpreting and how you do it, and it's the same for everything: channeling, art, tarot cards. What you're talking about, sharing this sort of a synchronistic consciousness connection and ideas. It's all the same thing. It's all about trusting you. First of all, I want to get past the term of just trusting yourself. And it's all about reality and what you will experience. When you are connecting to spirit or doing art, there's something in common with all of it. One, you're in the now when you're creating art, talking to spirit. I'm having a conversation with you. I'm in the now, nothing figured out, nothing, no notes, nothing like that. So it puts me in a higher vibe, and I trust that what's coming through is exactly what those who need to hear in the audience need to hear. It's because their higher self-consciousness is coming through to me. And so it gives me the inspiration to say the things I say and how I say it. If you go to my channel, the way I'm saying and talking is totally different. It's lighter, it's happier, it's sillier, it's whatever. It's, it's different because the audience is different. Your audience is different. Right. And the whole thing is, but then there's people on that subscribe to my channel also listening, same idea. But when you're doing this, if you are reading tarot cards, and I'm getting to the point you're talking about, you clear your mind, you take a couple of deep breaths, you ask the question out loud, what is a good way to do it, and then stop thinking about the question and the answer. It's really hard to do it for yourself because you're emotionally attached, but let's say you're doing it for somebody, you shuffle the cards, a couple pop out, you look at them, what's the first thing you notice? That's your intuition. For filter, popping things out at you. So you have, it's interesting, the Fool, for example, the tarot, the guy stepping off the cliff is in his intuition. He's stepping off the cliff into the unknown. You go through the whole major arcana and you come back to the awake Fool, and now we're stepping off the cliff again, but we're awake. And we go through the whole journey as an awake being now. And it's this cycle over and over again into higher frequency. All of the major arcana interpretations have changed for me. They talk about multidimensional reality and awakening and spiritual. They never did before, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is about the crown chakra and the fear and all that kind of stuff. The thoughts that you get, the very first thoughts that you get, I want to go do this, or I want to watch that, or I want to talk to this person, or whatever it is, it's a first creative thought that pops in your head. You didn't think it up, right? It popped in and it's stimulated. That is spirit, okay? The rest are analytical, potentially fearful thoughts that determine should I or shouldn't I. That's where we get in our way and drop our vibe and don't follow what we should follow. The first one, you get beginner's luck, synchronicity, cool meetings, all that kind of stuff. You meet your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever all of a sudden out of the... Because anyway, there's all kinds of stuff we can talk about here. But the point being that if you could trust the flow of creativity coming in, the initial flow, the initial thought, all of the art that I drew was 99%, because sometimes I would have an idea. On the phone, I just happened to have bought that phone for work and never did use the pen. And I pulled it out. Somebody suggested drawing and never did before. And you can see how fast it got better because I was stepping into the high vibe of it and tapping into past life abilities. So I had a passion for it, didn't know I could do it like that, and excelled at it, right? And it's like excelling over getting over addictions or getting good at something, but you have to actually do it and follow your passion. You won't get there as fast, or if it's not passionate. So the point is this: if you can trust the flow of information, if you can trust, that you're seeing 1111 for a reason, you begin to realize that it all becomes true. It's your reality that you're creating because you're giving it credibility, right? And the coronavirus to me, I didn't give a rat's ass about it. I didn't buy toilet paper. I didn't even go buy groceries, and I didn't need to. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a sick person. And it's the same for everything. The van, the same thing. I didn't know I was minus 40 when I hit the road and slept in the car for the first night. Some really cool stuff happened on that trip. I didn't plan a single mile of that 60,000 mile trip or 100,000 kilometer. We just hit the road. That was it. We ended up all over the place, and safe. And we never got a flat tire. And I didn't even have a spare under the truck that had air in it. And I didn't even know. And I didn't have CAA. And I didn't have any of that stuff, I never had to change the damn tire because I wasn't focused on the fear of it. So what I'm saying is that when you're doing a tarot card, or you're doing channeling, or you're allowing things to come through, or whatever, you have to be comfortable. It's meant for somebody, not meant for everybody. You'll always have people that'll unsubscribe or get pissed off or whatever, but that's okay. They're not wrong. Their truth is really true. I can't argue with
them. Totally,
I do,
man.
But I don't need to.
Right.
Because it's true for them. The coronavirus is real, and people have died in their family, and they're sick, and it's brutal, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're right. It's true because you've been focused on it. And it's okay. It's part of what's inside that needs to be healed. Those people in your life needed to diverge. They didn't die. They're in a different reality. You know what I mean? Yeah. All of this stuff is happening for a reason. You've got to break free from one hell of a shitty story that had everything to do with not serving the self, not serving others. It had everything to do with serving fear, which is what was ruling the planet and what is now falling apart. Every industry on this planet is decentralizing. Banks decentralizing. You have blockchain and torrent. Mainstream media decentralizing. It's already done it. 8% of the people trust the media now. Religion. You can see what's happening now out here with the spiritual insight stuff and the exposure of corruption and stuff in religion. I'm not bashing religion. Religion brought people together and put them in a direction of a focus towards compassion and things like that. But we've outgrown the dark age side of it, right? Mm-hmm. You can look at insurance going to co-op. You can look at the electric grid, which isn't going to keep up with these changes coming up, and this new independent generator that'll power up groups of people. You just have to buy the generator and share it, right? That decentralizes. You're looking at the decentralization of everything. Education is going to homeschool because we don't want our kids brainwashed. You know what I mean? And it's not helping. The kids, my kid excels incredibly, like every kid would, if you let them get up and follow their passion. She learns spelling, typing, and vocabulary playing Roblox. You know what I mean? Like, She had so much fun that she did it 6 hours a day in Spanish. And now I teach her Spanish so she can talk to her Spanish friends. She's learning math and this other stuff by trading glowing unicorns, online. But she's also learning everything she needs to learn. But she's so excited that her vocabulary is second to none. She wants me to test her on spelling because she's so secure with it. Do you know what I mean? She does an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. We spend our time together. She's not institutionalized. She's not separated from us. She's learned compassion. She's hearing me right now speak, right? So she's aware. She's awake. She knows George had a tail. She knows George no longer has a tail. And she knows that it might be a mismemory now, even though she knew before it wasn't. She knows the psychology of the period of time changing. And this is something that's going to happen to everybody on this planet. Everything, all of this cool stuff, all of these new insights and reality shifts and changes, they're all intensely exciting. But when you've made your choice in this window, 2020, the storm, as to where you're going to forget all of the stuff that was stuff, and you're going to align into a reality back into your school. This is the free-for-all recess where everybody gets to decide where they're going to go next kind of thing. But we will settle back into our lives. Mandela effects and reality shifts will slow down or less intense. They don't slow down. It's all the way time works. But they'll slow down where you're back in a reality that is seemingly linear, but you will have shifts and changes and things like that. But you will come in alignment with internal energy of your own frequency within, in which case you're not jumping so hardcore physically. And so you come into an alignment, or it's been put, you get on the train that you're choosing to get on, and the longer it takes, the further away your options are. You have like sort of, anyway, long story, but this is the best time to go with passion and drop fear, because you're signing up for many lifetimes right now to go to school to face the experience that you're choosing to buy into. If you're buying into fear, you're going to get the experience of it until you release it for a reality that is more reflective of your inner truth. So, and that's it. That's why I'm saying, let the flow come through. Draw the art and stop worrying about it if somebody's going to like it. No master's worried about whether somebody liked anything or even whether they healed anybody. It was their embodiment and high frequency of love and balance that healed people. It was that attracted people to them. It wasn't the miracles they did. They killed Jesus. You know what I mean? He didn't sell miracles. He wasn't like, hey, $50 for this one. Right. He healed because he loved unconditionally and compassionately. You know what I mean? If you can do miracles, you can get rich. Anyway, I won't get into it. But my point is that essentially we need to trust ourselves, right? Because that brings us into a higher frequency. If you question yourself all the time, you're going to stay into a reality where you're wrong anyway. But if you can trust yourself, you'll step into a reality where you're right all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And staying.
Well,
doing everything good boy type of stuff, right?
Sorry,
Your truth it just doesn't need that reflection.
Connection got kind of bad right there for a second, Tony. You dropped out.
Okay.
But okay,
it's time for you to step in.
What? Oh, yeah, it's okay. So yeah, I will step in and ask, Tony, do you think what we're looking at right now has the potential? Because I see it's gentle on one hand, but on the other hand, it's global, and it's something that I think as the whole planet right now is focused on this, and it's sort of a uniting force as far as catalysts are concerned. Do you think this could be the greatest catalyst of our lifetimes? I mean, as far as moving us into the greatest change, do you see the potential there for that?
The coronavirus?
Yeah.
That's setting the stage. That's nothing compared to what's coming. That's setting the stage for what's coming. That's getting people to aligned with their inner truth. It's quieting down the energy around the planet. It's getting people to step back from the distractions of reality, and then the fireworks start. This is nothing compared to what's coming. That's my understanding of it. What's coming is going to drive people in the communities to come together in the communities, to serve the communities, to break away from the old systems of economies. You'll see all kinds of changes, but there will be what we need. And for those getting out of fear and coming into the high vibe version of things, or focused on the good things, easier, because you're not going to put yourself through the bat in the back of the head type of version or experience that is required, that was required for me in order to let go.
Right.
What I see, this is something humanity has never gone through before. It is focusing consciousness in a very large way, like 911 did, brought out compassion and had those shifts and changes. But what I see after this is, I mean, I could give you details and stuff, but basically, I see that there will be catalysts, the real catalysts, where we see some death, but it's not really death. See the pressures on systems that are out of integrity implode, the ones that really need to go away now. The rising up of communities in support of the people, and every light workers are in their communities now. They're exactly where they need to be. The people who haven't come into the level of awareness that we have will come in our timeline, our version will come into that, and we will step into a higher one. The higher one will be ET communication, learning from ETs and teaching. It'll be so telepathy. It'll be we'll still be the strange people essentially again, but with some credibility.
That's nice.
It's going to be cool. And there will be challenges that will require everything that happens, and you're seeing it now. The fires in Australia, you're seeing somebody had written to me about companies, whether it was, I don't want to name companies, but companies sending letters that you don't have to pay this, or you have to worry about that, or whatever. We're seeing whether it's just done because it's a marketing strategy, whatever the case is, they're putting they're doing things to help this. And what we're going to find is, as we align to that, and as people buy into that as something that they really truly want, then all of a sudden we're moving into those frequencies. And and so yeah, we're going to see that. We're going to see sorry, somebody just showed up, but we're going to see that we become independent. We'll start breaking away from the systems that took our independence away, and helping each other. And those communities will be the globalism. The globalism will be communities in balance and in harmony internally that operate and connect sort of, around the globe. And it'll be done in autonomy. And it'll be done with the tolerance. We're not going to have a perfect world. We're still going to have all of the differences and changes in cultures, and it's beautiful. I mean, these are the things that sharpen the knife, right?
Yeah.
All of this interaction, it's all good, but we're going to have people facilitating the shift into higher compassion and all of the unity stuff kind of thing. So beautiful. But yes, what's coming is way bigger than the coronavirus. That's nothing. The coronavirus wasn't, I mean, at least from my perspective in reality, wasn't even as powerful as a regular flu, if you look up the statistics. And I don't follow coronavirus or any of this stuff, but I know that
yeah, I didn't really mean the coronavirus itself as much as this whole event. You know what I mean? The way because I think ultimately just everything that's been caused from the virus itself, everything shutting down, the social distancing, all of this different stuff they've been pushing and stuff, is like way huger than the very cause of it itself. You know what I mean? And of course, there's question about
it.
Yeah,
being the reflection of the energy of the planet. Anything that is physical is a reflection of what the collective is holding inside. Yeah. So if you're seeing social distancing and you're seeing all the stuff, you're seeing a reflection of the state of being of the collective. So there is no mistaking where the collective is at. You're seeing the polarity. When you start to see the natural disasters, now you're seeing the physical divergence. So if you want to know what's going on in the world with the collective, where we are, just the barometer is your physical reality. Social distancing, the world closing down, shutting down in a sense, isolation, all of that kind of stuff. We're isolating. I mean, we're preparing for the physical divergence, period. You're looking
Wasn't
at...
that you that posted the picture of somebody that had, I guess, photoshopped a bunch of popular logos, and like the McDonald's logo was the two arches separated to add some social distancing in there. I thought that was pretty funny.
And if I was a marketing guy at that table, and my background was marketing and entrepreneur and stuff like that, I would have fell over laughing.
Yeah.
Hey, I have got an idea. We've spent decades investing in this logo. Tons of money, brand recognition. People love it. Let's change it. Let's break it apart.
Let's rip it apart.
And call it unity. You know what I mean? Like, unify in your separation. That was the message. And I just had to laugh. Like, I don't market anything anymore. If you wanted marketing, entrepreneurs out there, if you want marketing and success, I know I have probably the slowest channel online. I really do. Totally. And we're all in the same sort of shadow band boat. But if you want moving forward, if you want to do marketing online, then you have to come into the higher vibrational version of you. Forget about competing. Forget about the strategies and the bullshit, and focus and put your heart on the table. Be open and honest, and put it out there. And no, not everybody's going to buy what you want, what you have to offer, or believe what you have. You're not. It's not. That's not the point. This isn't globalism anymore. It's community. And forget all AdWords and all the money. And I hired companies to do all the AdWords stuff and the writing the articles and to learn what they were doing. And I would do it. And I did a massive tourism project. It was all, I understood all of this stuff. And I'm not going to buy another AdWord again. Oh, and that's the other thing. The big tech is decentralizing as well, although the corruption within those companies will come into the light. They're not going to necessarily fall over, but if they stay in corruption, they will. Like Facebook might just completely implode if they don't come, or Microsoft, or Alphabet or Google type of thing. But as far as the marketing and selling your stuff, you're serving your community now. I think there's about one light worker for every 1,000 or every 50,000 people. It's a big enough clientele base. That you don't need bigger than that. I mean, who would want it? I want a life with my kid and my wife. I want enough to survive. I can get by. We get by in about $1,000 a month, for reference, for your daughter. And that means we get to eat and have showers in hotels and put gas in the truck and pay for insurance. It might be $1,200 per month kind of thing. So you have to have an income, but you don't need $3,600 a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you have a different place to sleep every night if you want, and you're safe and you're warm. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, shit. Off on another tangent. I have a lot of fun with tangent all over the place. So
that's awesome. I do want to touch on the healing before we go, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot more gifts coming online. I wanted to kind of touch on
just
saying healing. Just brought it in, huh?
You got it. So if your audience wants to accept healing from us, say I accept healing from the show, from Tony, Shane. I'm sending it out now. It's a high vibrational energy. It's coming on strong. Connect to the people of the group listening to this with your highest frequency. Raise it up. That's better. Heal each other. The groups are very powerful healing energy, much more powerful than a one-on-one. Okay, that's it.
That's a very powerful group. What do you think of the feedback? That's awesome doing it live like that, huh?
So it's just for people to know, the way that I discovered the healing is I met a psychic. I was invited to a group and told me I was shamanic and I could heal. And on the road trip, Julia had leg pain. So I was playing around with the idea of it's a non-touch energy, holding your hand above the pain area and sending love into, or visualizing light coming in. Eventually I realized to visualize light coming in, but also to ground myself, because my wife was learning it too. And we would take the sickness of the person we were healing. My wife had a really cool experience, but it was very painful. And I mean, you take on the pain instantly, or you take on, kind of like Paul, the movie, where he's fixing the eye and he gets the eye. I don't know where they got from, but you take it on. If you're not grounded and letting the energy go into the ground, then you can hold it. So you got to be careful with that. Otherwise, other than that, there's nothing to fear. Forget about all the other fear crap. It's not right. It's not real. So you don't need to protect yourself. So the energy comes in. To me, if you say the word heal, shit, it's going to come again. If you word heal, I shouldn't say shit, it's going to come again, because I tried so hard to make it come. Like,
right.
What happened was I was listening to a song called Baker Street. It's an old song with a really cool sax riff, and I got the chills, and I realized I could send that energy, direct it through my body into somebody, and I was relieving burn pains. Like, you could scald your hand, or hit my knuckle with a hammer in the RV, and I could take the pain away immediately. Although it's hard to get the chills, and I bear sprayed myself once. I had a can of bear spray fall off on the floor. I was in the RV. Imagine the tiniest little psst, that was it, and I was on fire. That's brutal. It is a long. You can heal pain. However, I did use a lot of soap and water and for that. It's really hard. chills on when you're on fire. But so the chills energy I found was a very high vibrational spirit energy or love, whatever it is. It's not just chills. It's not chicken skin or goosebumps
Right,
or whatever.
right,
Hardcore energy. And I practiced with that song when I needed to heal. I'd listen to Baker Street or whatever song gives you the chills or whatever, anything gives you the chills. And I thought, well, I'm going to wear it out. I'm going to wear this out and I'll never be able to do it. But that's not what happens. It got stronger and stronger and it came on every time. So I could, potentially do 5 healings in a day or more, or, have waves come through like the healing video, which will still work. If people listen to the video on my
right.
channel that I just put up a couple videos ago, it was very powerful and it will still work because it's timeless in that sense. It's an energy. And the more people that listen to it even now, it will make the energy coming through it even more powerful, so that the intensity you felt could be the result of the fact that your listeners end up listening to it, participating, which amped it up. So you've got the benefit of everybody who will ever listen to it. Do you know what I mean?
Right. It feels like that too. Yeah, it totally feels like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give that lecture in a science class.
Right.
So that energy comes through, and there's not much to it. You don't have to know what you're healing. You don't have to direct it. You shouldn't do any of that. If you read A Course in Miracles, which is the first book I listened to, it was an audio book. When I woke up, I was drawn to that immediately as soon as I realized it existed. The revelation from God that they talk about, the energy that went through Jesus, was uninterrupted. It was undisturbed. It was the ability to hold high levels of compassion, which is essentially free from the constrictions and judgments and fears of the human influence on your consciousness, the love, the awareness behind the human senses. So the energy comes through in its purest form through a master, and it is shared with the brothers and sisters around, let's say, Jesus, who didn't really, I would assume, I haven't read it, wouldn't have to touch anybody to heal them. His field healed them wherever he went. He would draw and attract people because of the vibe that he carried. So, maybe he did touch them and that healed them because the intent was there, and you need the intent and things like that. But he's sharing the energy. And so that energy is a very high vibrational, balanced energy. And when it comes in contact with somebody, they have free will, free choice to allow themselves to come up to that frequency, which changes the geometric light patterns behind the physical cell to put it back into it's kind of like, with Dr. Emoto sending love into water and then freezing
Right.
it and
Yeah.
turns into a beautiful crystal, or sending hate into water, freezing it, and it turns into a distortion. Same as the rice experiment.
Right.
You can look up the Emoto rice experiment. So you're sending the energy in, and you're bringing the energetic field. I think Chinese medicine touched, and the flow of energy. They understood this. And so it brings that into balance, which then heals you. And when you're in a higher vibrational frequency, you instantly move to a new timeline. You're always doing that, but you're aligning with timelines. So your past is now different, which means you can change your genetics. You don't have to have cancer simply because it was in the family. You can have a gene that no longer has cancer. You can heal that as well. You can go, there's so much you can do once you get into this. It's really cool, and it's simple, and I do teach it, and I will be teaching a lot of it. But so that's the whole point, or that's how it works. You bring a high vibrational energy to the table that interferes or essentially vibrates the other person. They come up to that level and they're healed. If you're a healer and you're sick and you're trying to heal yourself, that part of you is already in a low vibe. So healers have a hard time healing themselves. They would have to bring the vibe up. It's like a catch-22. If I have a depression issue and I'm trying to heal it, or I have whatever it is that I'm trying to heal, sickness, I'm already low vibe in that area. So how am I going to fix it with a high vibe if I don't even have the vibe to begin with? So healers go to healers to do that. And so every viewer out there, or every listener, can do the same thing. And you need to connect to your body. And I'll tell them how to do it because it'll be fun. I don't know how much longer we have here, but if you can figure out why you love, if you can understand why you love your body, your children, your relationships, for whatever reason, your experiences in life, the fact that it, processed your alcohol, whatever, the abuse you put it through, things that you have, you can figure out why you love your body truthfully. You can't lie here. You can instantly make a connection from your conscious awareness to the Merkaba, or your body on an energetic interdimensional level of energy, because that's love connects that. Again, it comes back to love. Love being, we've given the name love to this energy. So what happens, I got to stop clarifying stuff. I lose my train of conversation or train of thought. So if you can figure out why you love your body, then you say it out loud, taking that multidimensional thought, spirit, love, energy flowing through you, turning into a physical vibration. Your body can hear you energetically, vibrationally. It picks up the intent and the truth that you love your body, and you bridge the connection, and you start creating this sort of trinity connection of energy and consciousness. Now you can take full control of your, and you will get the chills. You will get it instantly. It's a physics exercise. It's not fluffy. It's very real, and it's unmistakable. You'll get the chills when the connection is made. That's your body telling you, "I love you too." It really is. It's like a heart. A heart moment or whatever.
Right.
And then the ability to channel this high vibrational energy from spirit to physical, to be able to heal people, to heal groups of people. And I've always focused on the group because it's the group that has that exponential power of pulling the field and energy to do things. So this isn't about becoming the next Jesus or guru or whatever it is. This is about community and unity and people coming together. I think what I'll be doing is teaching, mainly, and some healing or whatever, but everybody can do this, and everybody needs to be able to do this and to at least try and then tell other people how to do it, because we want to be on a planet where we understand how reality works and how to heal ourselves and how to heal others. And that's the exercise, and it's very powerful, and it blew my mind when it happened, when I started it. And I got the chills, because you have a physical variable that hits you like a ton of bricks, and you realize, holy shit, this works. It happened. Now you really buy into it, and you really can heal. I woke my two mothers, the mirror twins. They were actually one spirit or soul, and well, we all are, but they came down, they split, and so they experienced themselves. The higher self moves into two. They lived together, spent their whole lives together. One of them was able to wake up. The other one was not. One died 2 weeks before the other. And I was able to wake my biological mother up in the hospital. It was really cool. I was watching the nurses and doctors. They didn't want to leave the room. It was so high vibe in there, where doctors, they don't want to be there any longer than they have to.
Right.
Kept looking for excuses. So, and she wanted me to wake up her sister to communicate on that level, and I couldn't. And it was hard to say that because, they are one. And anyway, so when she, how did it work? When she passed, my other mother, I was raised by two mothers, she went in, they had already lined up buckets of morphine to overdose on if one died. They had the ability to reach the bed and, get on with it, because it was too much suffering to not be together. Well, what was really cool was I was there for this. My aunt, but my mother died, and she went into my other mother, my biological mother. Her energy did. So my mother, who is left alone, they're both in a room in their apartment. They have home care, and she lets out one loud moan, cry, and that was it. Perfectly balanced all the way until she passed. No loss, no pain, nothing. Perfectly balanced. She had reconnected. Sorry, just a second. She had reconnected with herself. The pain that she thought she would suffer from losing part of herself was so great that she obviously if it happened. It was the opposite. And this is the unity that you're talking about. The pain and the loss and the stuff that we go through. Our worst losses are relationships that crush us, that seem obsessive. And I know for sure, at least in some cases, are an aspect of yourself and you're experiencing. And if you go really deep, you can understand that some of the experiences that we've had with others, where we've caused the most pain, are actually at a spirit level, and that's going to freak people out. They're not going to believe it. But you're talking about spirit as being all one anyway. If you can believe that and understand, sometimes we can be in relationships that confuse us to such an extent we don't know why it would go that way. It seemed impossible, and it seems like it's something you'll never get over. But when you realize what it was all about, you can begin to heal it. It was something I had
Well, it cut out for you. It cut out on you for a
Like the
second,
point
Tony.
of letting it go for.
I wanted to know if you could back up because it cut out on what you were saying about sometimes when we go through things, the most extreme things, and you said something about that, and it cut it out. And I just wanted to make sure what you were saying comes
Go
through.
through some of when you go through some of the most extreme emotional experiences with other people, don't assume they're. What I'm trying to say is that it can be you doing it to you, and it's going to freak people out to think that we don't think that way. But everything is one. So what I'm saying is, sometimes the people we hurt the most, or the people who hurt us the most, it's not just a stranger. It's somebody that knows us so well, loves us so well, that we trust that for that to happen. You understand? And it's a different road altogether to go down. But what I'm trying to say is that what I experienced when I saw this, and which led me down a new road of discovery and understanding of life and relationships, is that that feeling we have inside where we just don't have, we just feel alone. It's because we are, in a sense, we are separated from ourselves, from source, right? And that some of the relationships that we have help us to understand that because they're so powerful. You feel like you'll never get over it. You just want to pull the trigger. But if you don't pull the trigger, you'll blow through an incredible level of understanding of reality, and you'll move into something that's spectacularly higher. And you can put it into a perspective, even if you never get over it. It essentially becomes just an experience, and you are no longer tied to it emotionally. But you can see it for the powerful catalyst that it was to propel you in this lifetime to something really high. So in other words, light workers suffer some of the most incredible challenges in their life because we needed to propel ourselves, launch ourselves further and further very quickly in this lifetime in order to balance and be ready for what's about to happen. Exactly. Because the world out there has a lot of fear. We need to, around the globe, visualize ourselves anchoring light to the planet so that we can hold balance for others in this transition. Because they're not awake enough yet to understand what's going on. They're just attaching to the physical reality, one polarity or another, one school or another, you know what I mean? In survival mode. And we're here to hold the balance, not to teach, not to preach, not to tell them what's going on, just to hold the energetic balance of the collective for the benefit of the collective.
Absolutely.
I'm closing my window here. So yeah, it was quite an experience to understand that we really are not just in ourselves, and the whole thing is powerful. And it really, once you go through this and all of this understanding, you will eventually come to surrender. You realize it's so big, so powerful, and that the people that can come up and direct your life and change your life or block you or whatever are all scripted. And if you can just go with the flow, you'll find you're exactly where you need to be when you need to be there, and you can bring yourself just sort of floating along in life, happy, like a happy little camper. And follow your passion.
When did you get to that point? Because I see you've made that shift from sort of, I don't know if you ever were in that point where, some people feel like they're in this prison planet and that we're in this reincarnation cycle and that we're prisoners and that we can't get out. And that sort of gets you in that victim mentality instead of realizing that, like, hey, I'm a key player here. I can make changes. I can grow so much more if I realize that I'm here to learn something, and then you can learn your lessons and move through quicker, right? So it's like, when did that switch flip for you, sort of realizing that? Did it cut out?
When I woke up enough to realize that something so profound had happened that I was free of whatever the hell it was I was in, not knowing what I was coming into. It's a bliss period. Eckhart Tolle or Tolle went through it. His massive stressful moment. The book, The Power of Now, is the first book I read. And he went through it too. Sat on a park bench looking at ducks for 6 months or 3 months or whatever it was. And I did the same thing basically, except I was in a vehicle. I just realized I was free, but I had to come back to reality to do the work. I had to purge the past out in the present. But I am still realizing it. I'm still in a van in a campground. I have no idea where this goes. All I'm doing is getting comfortable with not knowing. That's all anybody's ever going to do. You're getting there when you're comfortable with the unknown, when you can stay in the now, and when something triggers you, you can let it go faster and faster. You bring the pendulum back to the center. You might have extremes, but don't worry. The core frequency that determines the reality you're going to be in is a core frequency. The extremes are just sort of the programmable variables around the core frequency. So, when people talk about manifesting reality right away, and good thing we don't do it because we'd create dinosaurs that would eat us, kind of thing.
Right.
That's never going to happen. All that's going to happen is as you become more balanced, you are given more responsibility because the DNA releases by frequency. You have access to more abilities like the masters. So if you want to be a master and a touch healer and a miracle maker and a shaman and live on prana and all that stuff, then you have your biggest balance, your harmony inside. The message that I was given in the very beginning of this, very, very close to the beginning, was this. It was scary. Fight for your life to have harmony inside. I thought, holy shit, what comes? I fucked. So fight for your life to have harmony inside. And that's why I never forgot it. Spirit will come through in a weird way that you just never forget. If you want to rise to your highest level of potential, to have your most beautiful experience, then you have to have harmony inside. If you want harmony inside, your viewers don't know this. When I first woke up, it was a year before I woke up, I was asked a question on the way to the airport dealing with some sort of business thing. And I'd had this experience once when I wanted to pull the trigger when I was about 19 or 20. And I looked up when I was 19 or 20, I was isolated in a room. I was a computer programmer. And I said, if you want me to live, you better give me a reason. And it popped in my head, if you can't live for yourself, live for other people. And that sort of motivated me. It was neat, but I never did ask another question. I didn't really understand what was happening. But then I got the voice again in 2015, and it said, what do you want? And I thought, this is awesome. What do I want? But I understood it had to be very specific, because when I said, well, I want all the things everybody wants. Let's play the safe one. I want peace and earth and everybody to be happy so that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? You can't bullshit your way through this one. What do you want specifically? I want a final answer. And it took a year, because when you realize you can't answer it, what do you want? You can't answer beyond what you can understand right now. I want to be in a boat off the coast of Australia in the sunshine with my family, having a great time until I get bored of that in 3 years. You know what I mean? And I want something different. So eventually I understood I want to know everything I need to know to answer the question. Now I felt smart. And it was really cool, right? So I actually said that. It was about a year after, and that's when the doors blew open and I woke up to all of this information. So I really got what I wanted, but I completely didn't know that could happen. I let it go, which is important. That would be everybody has a secret to the secret. That would be mine, is make a choice, feel the vibe of the excitement, and then let it go and carry on with your life and allow it to happen. But then a year after that, I understood what I wanted. I still had to answer the question, and it was that I want harmony with everything that I do, no matter what I do, so that I can just continue. It's kind of like asking for a genie for wishes for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Instead of making one wish. So in the airport, it asked me, and so when I got the message, fight for your life to have harmony inside, I think this is where I was going with it. I began to understand why. It is the doorway to everything. You have two choices when you make every decision in your life. You have fear or love. When you choose door number 1, 2, or 3, door number 1, don't sell everything. Continue to fight for my retirement in my life. Door number 2, and I'm afraid, right? I'm worn out. Door number 2, sell everything and hit the road, but I'm afraid because nobody does that. That's stupid. And door number 3, sell everything and hit the road, not be afraid, right? Well, the only one that's going to work is sell everything and not be afraid, because every choice that I make in fear, I'm choosing from a frequency which is demanding that experience, so that it'll always be fearful. Right. If I could choose, I will just walk away from everything and walk down the road and see where I go and be totally not in fear. I mean, that might be just too much, but the point is you have to choose, or in love, in faith or not in faith. And this is, so if you are passion driven, you follow your passion in a way that makes sense, right? You still might have to pay bills and have responsibilities. You work your way out of it. But the way you do it is to follow the little passions to keep you a little higher every day. Focus on doing the things you really want to do to the best that you can do them, and keep going in that direction and work your way out of the situation you don't want to be in. And keep your eye on the excitement of what it is you're trying to reach. Forget the details. It'll never be the details. You'll never get the best worst case physical details manifesting. You'll get what you need. So holding harmony inside reprograms the brain, the body, the physiology. When life comes to you, when that toroidal field spins around to give you the distorted, fearful version or experience that you have continually bought into and kept feeding into to make it even more polarized, all of a sudden it goes the other way. It begins to flatten out. You know what I mean? It comes into balance. And so by holding in harmony inside with everything, you can't go wrong. But you have to be able to believe that that's the truth. And what helped light workers was the multidimensional variables, the 1111, the Mandela Effect, the reality shift to other things, so that you could buy into it. So you need a reason to buy into it. Maybe one thing you could do is ask yourself what you want. I could tell you, yeah, and it'd be better just to watch that video without getting into too much here, but on my channel. But essentially, ask yourself what you want, and then make a choice. Choose a path: wisdom, power, money, spirituality, religion. What it is teaching. What is it that you want to do? Once you've chosen, walk that path. Now you're not like lost, and then you walk it in with harmony inside, without being afraid, and you go with the flow and be like a kid. And that puts you in touch with your intuition, because your intuition can only speak in a high vibrational energy. So if you're contracted in fear, you get no sort of higher vibe version, upper view of the whole picture. Once you are in tune with your intuition, you follow it. It's the first sort of idea that pops in your head, like I said. And then you move forward towards the things that feel like are exciting. It is actually pretty simple. If you really, really want to get a really, really amazing guru to teach you what to do, ask your kid if he's still 5 or 6. You know what I mean? And you will have a spectacularly fun life. Get down. You'll probably come up with an invention for a new toy. It's letting go of the programming. You can only do that if you're like a kid.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm still doing it. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm figuring stuff out too, and it's, I love having grandkids and stuff, because it allows you to sort of live vicariously through them, through their eyes, and imagine things. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Where are we at? Just under 2 hours. 102 people watching. Right. So I want to encourage all of you guys watching here, please go subscribe to Tony's channel, Merkaba Carpet on YouTube. Totally resonate with your stuff. I love that I love your free flow style, and I've been trying to get back to that myself, because I did that early on. Now, like, I mainly deal with guests or whatever, but people are like, I like the shorter videos, because not everybody's got an hour or 2, 3 hours to invest in a video. So I'm going to start doing more of the vlog style videos like you do, because I think it's wonderful. And the artwork that you do is awesome. I always enjoy the artwork that you do with your videos, and that's your original artwork that you come up with. Some of it seems totally channeled too, if not all of it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's something familiar about that. Why is it so familiar?
It's all done in the bliss period. I haven't drawn for a long time. It's 6 months of sketches, 5 a day, roughly, and it was all done in that whole bliss period, high-end channeling. And it's the awakening process. It's the information about multidimensional reality, quantum mechanics, and the things that I learned when I woke up. And it just let it flow through, all of it, except for maybe one or two. Yeah.
Now, were you an artist before you started doing this program? Like?
No, you can see how bad I was. If you look at the quantum sketches or the beginning sketches, they're raw. It didn't get into for about 6 months, but it was such a fast track, because when you do something like start sketching or following a passion, playing guitar, singing, whatever it is, if you're passionate about it in this energy where all the doors are open, you move into versions of reality that align with the ability to do, because you've already learned it. As people talk about, we are remembering. So I was obviously a decent sketch person in another lifetime, because I wasn't in this lifetime. It wasn't, I was very business-minded, entrepreneurial, computer programmer, marketing guy, high-end restaurants, stuff like that. I never gave spirit the opportunity, or art the opportunity, to be something that could support me in my life, even though that was the goal. Make the money, then be the artist. You can't. Have to be the artist, and then you'll
Yeah.
make the money, right? Or whatever you want. I don't give a shit about the money. I want enough to get by, but I want to just. My whole life was to go after freedom. That was the point, and you just can't be free in a separated type of reality. It has to be in unity because there's no freedom in separation.
Hmm.
So yeah, it goes really fast. Follow your passion, you'll be really good at it, and let it flow. Don't script it. Spirit doesn't script. You can channel right if you want to sort of write stuff out or prepare things, but if you're writing something and then you're going back and fixing it 30 times, you're taking out nuances and changes and messages that were meant for certain people, and you're sort of bringing the vibe down. Let it be what it needs to be. Let it hit the one person that really needed to hit, who then changes the lives of 1,000 other people, or homogenize it all into basically something that people won't even remember. They're not
Right.
going to remember 2 hours. One thing they'll remember, different people remember one thing in this video that'll hit them, and it'll potentially help them change their life in a new direction. They'll go look for a book or something like that, you know, or make them think about something. It's not a, yeah. I mean, it's just free flow is the way to go. And if I had to script everything or sit down and draw a picture for a video, I wouldn't have done any of it. It would just be too much of a pain in the ass. No fun. Just worried about this and that and periods and and capital letters and swearing and not swearing and being professional, and you know what I mean.
Right. Right.
I've done that. It wore me out, and that's why I've done it. I was not meant to do it. I was meant to do it this way,
Yeah.
casual, semi-professional, but casual.
Yeah, it keeps you in the flow of things, and it's almost like life is like that. It's like, get out of the way. It's like more than anything, it's like we get in the way and we mess stuff up, right? It's like, I think I know what's best in this situation. I don't see all the pieces, but I'm going to go ahead and try my best. And then you're like, well, I really screwed that up. It would have been so much
Yep,
better if I'd just taken a step back and allowed to let it be, as you were just saying, let it be, you know?
it is. All the businesses that I started, and I started a lot from the age of 17, and my family were entrepreneurs. My mother had grade 6 education, so we were entrepreneurs, and it wasn't government in our family. We were doing anything and everything legal. I mean, like they loved to cook, and so we had restaurants and stuff. But of every business I ever started, I got it, a lot of them to a national and international level, and it went in such a way that I got the support I needed. It was very passionate. I'd create products, I'd design packaging, do the whole marketing. It was all sort of a creation. I was the artist. I didn't like business, but I needed to do business to do what I was trying to do. And it all imploded when I started to get serious about it, when I started to contract in energy, be afraid of the risks that I was taking, putting things on the table, right? And I'd have to start over from scratch again and again. No money, sleeping on a friend's couch, and do it again because I didn't fit a 9 to 5 ever. I would go insane doing that. But I would work, like 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, 6 months straight, and then, burn out for a month and do it again. It wasn't a work issue. It was a drone issue. You know what I mean? A
Right.
slave issue. I had to be, I had to serve my creativity and keep putting it out there. But it would always fail when I got scared and worried about what the outcome would be when things didn't meet my expectations. Had I not done that, everything I did would have led to, well, I mean, I woke up eventually, so it's good. But if you don't do that, even if what you're working on doesn't work, it'll take you to something even better. You
Yeah.
have to go with the free. You have to.
Yeah.
When we try to control it, we kill it, we strangle it, we linearize it, we give it no options, we lock it down to a timeline that has no doors to success. You have to let it free fall. It's just got a life of its own. It has a purpose in the collective. We serve the
Yeah.
collective. And see we can't see the whole picture. The higher self can. It can see all the timelines, but it can only speak to you if you're in a high vibe. If you can get out of your own way. You want to lock down in fear and be scared of things. That's your reality.
Yeah,
You
and
know
it
what I mean?
takes
Even
you
if
away
you,
from the now moment too, because fear is
yeah,
of the uncertainty of the future or whatever. So it gets you out of that now moment, and the now moment is when your greatest connection is with your higher self. I mean, stuff can just flood through if you're in a high vibe and in the moment. The intuition is. I mean, there's no comparison. Then if you're ticked off in traffic or something, you're not hearing anything. You know what I mean?
no,
If you're worried about a bill or worried about a shut off notice or just daily stuff, what's
yeah,
on the news, you're not connected, so that's really the thing, is being high vibe and in the moment is like the greatest connection to your intuition. So a lot of people hit these plateaus, or they hit these spots where they're
It
like,
is.
I'm not getting anything from my guides. I'm not, you know, and it's sort of like one of those, like you were talking about the catch 22 earlier, because it can actually exacerbate the problem. You know what I mean? Because you start worrying about it, and then you're like worrying
Yeah.
about it, not at the moment. So it's like, you know, how many things are like that? You know?
Guy, the guide's got to leave you. Your higher self, you need to break from that because you're going through a leveling out or a change. Again, you've got to go with the flow. And spirit is anything and everything that is a flow of creativity through the human being. It is everything that is thinking, analyzing, planning, plotting, and strategy is brain, right? It,
Right.
it allows the body to function in 3D reality. But if you're painting something, that's spirit that is coming through, creativity. So it gives
Yeah.
a person the ability to understand what is actually happening that is creative is not in the brain. The brain is an antenna, and if you can uncontract and trust yourself and go with the flow and assume it's going to be perfect for whatever it needs to be, release the expectation, then spirit can speak clearly and can take you where you need to go faster. Because sometimes you've got to say something that maybe 99% of the people don't want to hear, but the one person that can change your life and put you where you need to be did need to hear it. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? You can't judge. You've got to let it flow. And I'm still learning this. I'm still wrapping my humanness around it. I'm still buying into it. I know it, but that
Right.
doesn't mean I can live it all the time. You know,
Yeah.
it's we get it over time. So you have to. Oh yeah, yeah. You have to be gentle with yourself because as soon as you start beating yourself up for not doing it right, you're contracted again. Cut spirit off. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And it's all fear driven, you know? So if we could say
yeah.
anything to you
It
guys
has.
today, it would be stay away from the fear, stay away from all of these negative timelines that they're pushing right now, and just really feel the potential of this moment that we're in right now. Because this is huge. Such a huge moment that's, you know, a global event that's felt all around the world. It's long lasting. I mean, there's going to be some sacrifice, there could be some pain involved. But with any kind of transition, there's always a sacrifice. There's always a little pain. So just get excited. Know that the pain's only temporary, like birth pains, right? And I think that's a good analogy that we were talking about yesterday. That like sort of we're birthing something new here, and of course there's going to be some pain whenever you shake things up, you know. So
Yeah,
I guess we will wrap it up with that, man. I definitely want to have you back soon.
yeah. Anytime. It's I shied away from doing anything because I was actually given that information was to essentially kind of isolate to
Yeah.
and I was naturally that anyway. I needed to understand what was going on before I started reaching out and sharing the information. And there's just so much to the picture. But now it's a good time to sort of be out there. So I appreciate being invited. I've been invited a couple of times, and I've said yes both times. Um, and that's because that's the last thing I'll leave your audience with. If you get an invitation, if you get somebody wanting to take you somewhere, there's a reason. Say yes
Right.
and do it. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid of it. I don't like speaking like uh, for as much as it might seem uncomfortable with it. I'm more in control when I can do an audio recording. And if I sneeze or something, I can pause it or whatever. Doing live, nobody's comfortable. I don't think some people are, but it does have a high vibe flow of energy though, and you'll be okay if you do it on your own channel. If you can look at it that way, spirit will take care of you. I guess is what I'm saying. You'll know what to
Mm-hmm.
say when you need to say and it'll flow through. And if you break connection like I do a few times through here, it's okay. It'll come back if it needs to, or if the connection on here fluctuates, it's just go with the flow. But yeah, say yes, and
Great advice.
be
Say
glad you
yeah.
did.
That's like that movie, Say Yes, or
Yeah,
something.
I was about to. Yeah,
Right, right.
that's
Of
it.
course, they take it like Hollywood does. Of course, they took it to extremes or whatever. But you know, for the most part, yeah, there's nothing's. And I hate to say nothing's coincidental because, like Sherry pointed out to me, if you break down that word, it really is coincidental. There's code. There's multiple parties involved, and there's an
Yeah,
incidence. So we think of it
yeah.
as accidental or random when we use coincidental, but it really is. It's sort of the divine. It's the universe working with itself, really, at the
It's
very
it's frequency.
broadest terms. Yeah.
Everything is frequency, and frequency aligns because that's what it does. Everything is self-organizing. Everything has polarity, and that's the way it works. So you have no chaos. You have control over your frequency, and you align with realities and experiences based on that. So of course, it's a world of coincidence. As soon as you can get out of your own way and think that, oh well, coincidence, maybe there's no such thing, or it happens once in a while. Coincidence is how reality works,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Synchronicity.
Yeah. But once you believe it and buy it, now you can become the creator of your reality experience, rather than a victim to it, rather than a slave to it, rather than trying to protect yourself from the projection that's coming from within. And that's hard to wrap your head around, but it really is what's going on. And it's so cool because you're the student, you're the teacher. And that's why this teacher always shows up when the student is ready.
Right.
You've called on it by your frequency. You're ready? There's the teacher. So if you don't have a connection to the field in a channeling type of a way, somebody will show up and something to you, or a book will show up, or whatever. You'll get what you need all the time. It's a really huge paradigm shift.
Absolutely. That's actually the whole Easter egg video we just did is about that. It's like keeping your eyes open for those little Easter eggs from the universe, because they're there all the time. It's like either hinting at look at this, or a confirmation to something you'd already been given, or just to let you know that it wasn't just your voice inside your head. You get this little confirmation. You're like, wait a minute, why did that go with what I was just thinking? And then you realize that there's this whole other agency. I think of it as a benevolent agency involved. And you can think of all the angels or the Holy Spirit and all these being part of this, because I don't really know what it is. I think the labels is sort of a human thing or whatever. But there's something going on there, and you can get into the flow of it, and it's a great feeling because you feel like the universe. You feel that, beyond your body, you're just limitless. You know what I mean? You're tapping into that limitless. The intelligent infinity, as they call it. Right.
Yeah.
Without fear. No fear.
When we were on the road trip, when I sold everything and we were just starting the road trip, I said to my wife, Adina, I said, the stuff that we've seen and what we're going through, because she was awake too. She woke up first. She could see what I was seeing. I said, we're going to have to explore this for real. In other words, let's go for it. Into it. For example, you could play a song. We had a huge mix of music on USB. And you could get a sense that you were getting insights and ideas from the music that was playing. And so you could ask a question and change the song. And it'd be like, holy shit, look at the name of that song, or look what they're saying.
Right.
When you buy into it, when you buy into the idea of synchronicity and the Easter eggs, that becomes your reality. That's the difference. Of course, people will turn a channel off if they can't see it or they can't buy into it, because they'll never see it. It'll never be their reality. And they're not wrong, and they're not ready for that experience. So it is the Easter egg thing. It's the universe speaking to us as a co-creative. We are doing it, the collective. We're the ones that are projecting our experience. We're doing it together. We're working together, scripting it on a higher level. But yeah, you know where this is going. I'm forgetting what I'm saying, but that's the idea. Allow yourself to buy into the synchronicities, and you will find that they take you where you need to go. And it just always is. Like, it's just always, it's never going to be a dead end. You'll always get to where you need to go, even if you think you're fooling yourself or buying into something that is just too magical. Right. It's just isn't. That's the physics of frequency.
That's funny that you said that, because it's like the more magical stuff you tune into to test it, the more you see that, like, wow, this is real. This is actually real. I mean, something's really going on here. And it's like the more you dig into it, the more it just snowballs into something that's well beyond what you would think of as random chance. Yeah. So
there's no such thing as chance. It is all frequency. It is all intention, frequency, and action. Action puts it into a manifestation, but we're in complete and total control through our free choice of what it is we choose to create. Humanity decided it was time to move out of the dark ages. This is us doing that. The earth is reflecting it. Everything we experience coming up will be for our benefit, even if it doesn't look that way. Nothing has an inherent meaning. In Course in Miracles, same idea. You can undefine everything. Everything that happens doesn't have to have a good or bad definition. I mentioned that to you yesterday, the Chinese or whatever it is, it's just, you just never know. Is it good luck or bad luck? Well, give it enough time and you'll find it was both forever. It just
Right.
is an experience. And it's up to you, the observer, as to whether you want to stay with that experience or change your frequency and try a new one. That's it. It's just free choice. Frequency, physics, quantum mechanics. It doesn't even have to be that complicated. Quantum mechanics, just the frequency behind physical matter. It's at a higher vibration. And yeah, it's just, man, it just became such I want to know everything I need to know to answer the question, what do I want? I had no idea that
Right.
it meant knowing. You would think it would be everything, but it's still 3/4 of 5/8 of F all and nothing compared to what could be known. You know what I mean? It's still
Right.
baby steps into the multidimensional. We're just touching it now.
Absolutely. But it's fun times, man. And when you can remove fear, it can really be a fun, magical adventure, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
It
all
is.
right there. And we ruin it so much with worrying about stuff, you know? It's like, dude, there's so much beauty going on around us all the time. But
I
we get
know.
distracted, you know? It's easy to get distracted.
It is. You're right. But look at the work you're doing and the work others are doing. This is a high level, relatively speaking, type of information, right? And we're
Right.
all on different levels doing different things, right down to somebody who's uh, dealing with, well, it doesn't matter. I was thinking religion or anything. We're all interacting on a level, helping each other have experiences that we need to move forward and better ourselves. And it's incredible. And if you look at what you're doing, what I'm doing, here we are, a year
Yeah.
ago or 3 years ago, our worlds were miles apart. We could have been in realities where we were in completely different realities, because I was nowhere near. I was in the deepest, horrible, rottenest implosion and fear and awful, wanted to pull the trigger and there was no next move to make and I was tired. How the hell does a guy like that go from there to here? You know what I mean? It's
Right.
because past life, right? We reached it in past lives. This is the one that shattered the illusion, allow us to face the fears and vibe up to our highest potential. But you and I and me and many things, we're not in the same reality. We have merged into this shared co-creation of things because we have aligned our new beliefs. You know what I mean? And they are beliefs. The knowingness is the love. That's it.
Right.
Infinite love. But everything else is going to be buying into things from beliefs that are based on the experiences, essentially. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So yeah, it's just choosing the next experience, and it's quite a spectacular journey, because eventually we're going to get to the point where we are working with ETs. We are not physical anymore. We are more consciousness. We're too high vibe, like people who ascend out of Earth. This is a long time from now, right?
Yeah.
And we'll be able to explore anywhere and everywhere, and it won't just be a solar system or a universe. It'll be levels of consciousness that are on a planetary and solar system and galaxy and stuff like that level. And I had no idea that that's what consciousness was doing. But it comes into self-awareness and continues to have experiences. It grows through experience. It can't grow in
Right. It's
any other.
constantly expanding. Yeah.
Consciousness grows through experience constantly. And so we're
Yeah.
expanding it, and we're moving out to a galactic family. And that's what's happening next. It's happening now. People are channeling aliens. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
really doing it.
Yeah.
I've had all kinds of alien contact where you're in intense fear when they show up because they're so high vibe.
Right.
And fear is just a word or that can describe the feeling of two frequencies that are out of harmony. And the more out of harmony they are, describe it as fear or terror. And so those that are in fear are experiencing a frequency outside of themselves that is further out of harmony than it used to be, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have those focused on the coronavirus, the imploding, this and that, are in what they hold within was a sense of control, some sense of control of their lives. Now it's not. And now they're in a discordant frequency between the outside world and the inside world. The only way to get back into harmony is to let go of the outside world and come into harmony within. There's so much to teach anyway. We better not go on for too long, but it's an important to understand that fear is just defining the relationship between frequencies. And when you can start getting out of your own way, you can start putting yourself in harmony with the world around you, and fear goes away. Those experiences go away, and you start living a life that's in harmony, that's in love. You learn in love.
Absolutely.
Know,
And it really,
unless you choose to contract. Right.
It really does come back to the answer is love, and it sounds so simple, but really it is. That's the motion. It's getting into the flow, and it's like the things we do that harm the flow of that are the things that are rooted in fear, which is the opposite of love. So it's sort of like getting into the
Yep.
love flow and just flowing with it, and then just trusting that that love current is going to take you to where you want to go. If love were a
That is.
river.
We, we could go all the way back to the masters and just find faith. Forget the religious part. Just
Right.
have faith.
Right. Never a boring ride though, and I'm so glad that I have something to show my daughter from you being on the road. What part of the are you in Canada right now? I know you're West Coast
Yeah,
time.
we're in Sechelt, BC, which is the coast. It's a ferry ride north of Vancouver,
Oh,
and
nice, nice.
we were because it's the only place that's warm enough to sort of hang out in a van.
Yeah, because you're getting that warm air
And then we'll
coming.
be in Alberta. Uh, yeah,
Sorry, it cut out.
and
But
then so yeah, we'll be part in Alberta this summer. And I'm going to start getting in shape again. I think I'm ready to step back from trying to understand everything, and now pulling the physical side of myself back into shape, further shape, because a lot of this was sedentary. It was thinking and feeling. Now I just want to sort of ground back reality,
yeah.
start working with the physical again, and then
Hmm.
working with people in our physical reality. That's where it is. The blowing up into the ethers is great, and you can learn a lot, but now you've got to apply it and make the changes to physical reality by
Yeah.
being, and that's the thing, by being the puzzle piece you are. We are all a different puzzle piece. That puzzle piece is your inner truth. If you follow your inner truth, you become the puzzle piece, and that gives us the unity puzzle here. But if you keep questioning yourself, being in fear, worried what other puzzle pieces think, you never become the puzzle piece you came here to be. And so that's what I'm working on next. It's just being myself,
Me too. Me too.
as
That's funny
best
you
of.
said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Because that's what it is. We're like we're constantly trying to reshape everybody's puzzle piece. We're like, well, I got my hands full with my own puzzle piece here now, don't I? You
That's right.
know? Well, dude,
Yep.
I really
I,
appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, man. I definitely want to have you back. And if you have anything going on or anything, and anybody hopping in later, I know that we got a different group of people here now, sort of people funneling in and out. But definitely check out Tony's YouTube
yeah.
channel, Merkaba Carpet. I do have that link right at the top of the description box below. And we'll have you back, buddy. Thank you so much for
All
coming
right.
on.
Okay.
And
I'll let you. You want me to shut? I can shut it off so you can finish up, I guess.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Okay, you guys. So yeah, check out his channel. Go subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Lots of love and light. Have a good one. Peace. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.